300 years ago, rifts suddenly appeared all over the world. Countless hordes of monsters poured into our world through these rifts. As a result of this catastrophe, the world was plunged into chaos. But in the midst of this catastrophe, humanity was given a new opportunity. The awakened appeared. Lucky individuals with strong aptitudes were given the chance to awaken in various professions. They can also grow stronger by defeating monsters and exploring hidden worlds. Such people are called professionals. Today is the student's awakening ceremony. Instructor Li Yu called the next student to come to the stage. She invited Lin Luo. Lin Luo was a student at the University of the Awakened and considered himself, without a doubt, the most special of all the students. The young man believed that everyone present would soon see him soar into the sky after many years of living on Earth. Lin Luo was about to start a new life by pretending to be someone he wasn't. The young man placed his palm on the testing sphere. The sphere glowed brightly. Everyone present assumed it must be a combat profession. Could this simpleton have obtained a rare profession? But upon seeing the bright glow of an unusual color, Lin Luo decided that his time had come. Today would mark an important milestone in his rise to power. Mentor Li Yu announced that this young man's profession was a level D healer. She congratulated the newly awakened student and said he would be an excellent support for the combat classes. Those present were surprised. Had they really heard correctly? A healer is someone who can stop bleeding, heal wounds, and treat illnesses. They're also known as nurses. The other students wondered in surprise, aren't girls the only ones who can awaken such a profession? Had a male nurse really appeared in their class? Lin Luo felt discouraged. His friends tried to reassure him, pointing out that he hadn't awakened to mundane professions like cook or janitor. Most people don't even have a profession. Lin Luo could always work hard to become the best nurse. The guy got angry and said that if they were suggesting he become the best nurse, then when they were injured and needed his help, he'd make sure they all bled out and died. His friends kept mocking him. A healer is a lifesaver for someone who's seriously injured. Befriending a healer is practically a guarantee of survival. You can't joke around with them, or you might die during treatment without even knowing why. Lin Luo told them never to call him Nurse Lin again. He'd rather be called a male nurse then. There are several ranks, however. Lin Luo had the lowest rank D, and he was still a second-rate awakened. This was not at all what he had in mind when he thought he would soar to the heavens. His best friend, Tong Cheng, told him not to lose heart. From now on, he'd take him along on all kinds of missions. Tang Cheng was a rank C stone knight. Lin Luo said that if they teamed up, they'd be nothing more than sandbags for the monsters. Suddenly, an extremely blinding light appeared. The students were startled. Who was causing such a commotion? The students realized it was Yining. Her awakening had been a success. She had obtained the A-rank Snow Queen Spirit profession. No one expected anything less from the school beauty. She had good grades, so it was only natural that her awakening went so well. Lin Luo looked at the girl and thought it was simply incredible. On top of that, she had a stunning figure. Mentor Li Yu said it was simply wonderful. With a profession like this, Yining would be able to choose any college in the country. The girl thanked her for recognizing her talent. Wang Dong, awakening failed. Zhang Ning, awakening failed. Zhou Lin, awakening successful. Profession, master chef. Lin Luo concluded that everything was in the hands of fate. In any case, the young man decided to start by checking the attribute panel, which only he could see. The young man saw that his skill was skin burst. But what was that? Perhaps it was some kind of modified skill? Lin Luo had never even heard of such a thing before. It was a modified ability that caused the target's skin to burst instantly, ignoring the target's defenses and causing pain and bleeding. Lin Luo thought, if healing heals wounds and relieves pain, then this skin burst creates wounds and even seems to rub salt into them. This is nothing like a healer's ability. The young man realized he didn't yet have enough levels or skill points to learn anything new. What kind of effect could this skill have? Lin Luo wondered, what about other skills? What if his original base skill was healing, but it had mutated into skin burst? The protagonist thought, doesn't that mean he can change his own skills? The young man decided it was definitely worth a try. Tang Cheng asked what Lin Luo was doing right now. The young man replied that he was buying a skill book. Tang Cheng remembered that his friend was also rich. After all, his aunt is a professional. She's been doing cleanup work for many years. Lin Luo replied that he'd spoken with her 3 months ago. She's currently in the Star Sea. After this trip, she's entitled to a month's rest. Instructor Li Yu announced the end of the professional awakening test. Now the students could go home. Those who had awakened with a combat profession were warmly congratulated. Those who hadn't awakened shouldn't despair, because they still had a long road ahead of them. Tang Cheng asked why Lin Luo was rushing off so quickly. The protagonist replied that he had urgent business to attend to. Our hero had ordered 2 new skills. Now he needed to test them out immediately. The student wondered if perhaps the boy was upset and didn't want to show it to those around him. The delivery arrived. The driver asked for a 5-star rating for prompt service and a thank you comment. Our hero now had 2 skills in his possession: stop bleeding and pain relief. He set about learning the skills. After a while, he received a notification that he had mastered the skills. Now Lin Luo could raise an opponent's body temperature, inducing a fever that slows them down, disorients them, and causes nausea. This could be combined with skin explosion. He could also intensify the pain. The guy couldn't believe he now had such a skill. The protagonist never imagined he'd have the ability to modify his skills in this way. Now no one would dare treat him like an ordinary healer. A notification popped up on his smartphone, and our hero saw that he'd been added to Ms. Liu's pre-exam preparation group chat. Lian Yining and Tang Cheng were also in this group. The mentor announced that she had added everyone who had awakened to a combat profession today to the group. The next exam would be in 10 days. The protagonist was delighted. He decided to show everyone who was truly mediocre here. Everyone would have to experience it for themselves. The girls were heading home after class. A friend asked why Yining was so upset. Could she really be worried about Lin Luo? Lian Yining replied that wasn't the case. Her friend didn't believe her and suggested that she had a crush on him. The girl added that Yining should think carefully, because things weren't the same as they used to be. Yining was going to attend the best university. Lin Luo clearly wasn't up to that standard. They were growing further and further apart. Yining had to admit it. Yang Haran, who had become a sword mage, approached the girls. He congratulated Lian Yining on awakening her Class A profession. The guy asked which university she had decided to apply to. Her friend recalled that this guy had been courting Yining for many years. Now he had obtained an A-class profession, sword mage. Many students say the two are a perfect match, but it all depends on Yining's feelings. Yining addressed the young man formally and told him to call her by her full name. Her friend thought that Yining wasn't giving this young man the slightest chance. Lian Yining declared that this was her personal business and none of anyone else's concern. Her friend tried to stop her. Yang Haran thought Yining was playing hard to get. However, he knew that she had written a love letter to Lin Luo. But that guy was just a lowly D-rank healer, Haran thought. If this girl doesn't give in to him, he'll be ruthless. The Plain of Demonic Rats. This area is located in the northwest of the magical city. It's home to many cunning magical rats. The monsters' levels aren't high, making it suitable for beginners to practice. The apprentice thought that the monsters' level was low, plus it was close to home and had convenient transportation. Lin Luo decided he would test his mutation skills here and level up at the same time. The participants formed groups to fight monsters as a team. The mentor said they didn't have much time, so they needed to prepare, and they would be setting out soon. The girl suggested that the younger apprentice team up with her. After all, he was the same age as her niece and had only recently awakened. She was ready to look after him. Lin Luo thanked her for the offer and said he'd try to manage on his own. A participant asked Kiyoshi what she had said to that boy. The girl replied that she'd met an interesting young man. She'd wanted to look out for him, but he hadn't appreciated her gesture. The guy said that this kid doesn't even understand what he's about to do. The rat plains are full of fallen newbies. The same fate might await him. Kiyoshi noted that most new recruits are excited and emotional on their first time in battle. However, this guy's eyes showed absolute calm. He was not only confident but also composed, and that's a rare thing. Kiyoshi added that Crane had found the coordinates of a special monster. She was sure they'd be able to get something out of it. They had to hurry so no one would beat them to it. At one of the locations, a battle with rat monsters was in full swing. Someone was screaming that a demonic rat had drained half his blood with its very first bite. The mentor said that 2 people being unable to handle a single rat was simply a disgrace. Lin Luo peeked out from behind a tree and saw one of the monsters devouring its prey. It was a level 2 demonic rat. It possessed a thirst for blood and a venomous bite. The protagonist thought, even though these monsters are meant only for beginners, the stats of these demonic rats are extremely high. Their stats are twice as high as those of an ordinary professional of the same level. Now it was time to put his skills to the test. The demonic rat was defeated and Lin Luo gained experience points. The young man thought that his mutation skill was extremely powerful. Ordinary fighters struggle to handle this monster, yet he had dispatched it in a second. Lin Luo found another monster and decided to try it again. The attack was successful once more. Lin Luo defeated the demonic rat and gained experience points. The damage isn't dealt as quickly as with the skin explosion, but it causes continuous bleeding. The target dies over time either way. The guy was satisfied since he was gaining a lot of experience by hunting alone. Lin Luo realized that if he had a high-level profession or a hidden profession, he would receive more free attribute points upon leveling up. Since he was only D rank, he wouldn't get any bonuses. The young man decided he had one last skill to try. To do so, he targeted the rat. Pain amplification should double the pain. However, if the target isn't feeling any pain, there's nothing to double. Lin Luo increased the skill's intensity, and the target was destroyed. The rat was still powerless against the skin explosion. There's no chance he'll need to amplify that pain. He'll have to test this skill on a boss. Lin Luo destroyed the demonic rat and gained experience points. The player leveled up to level 10, and his 4 attribute stats were increased by a fixed amount. Now he can unlock new skills. Lin Luo thought this was simply wonderful, since he had reached level 10 on his own in just 6 days. With his skill points, he can now learn a new skill. The skills looked appealing, and the protagonist decided he wanted to acquire them all. Influenza virus lysis. With this skill, he could cause the target to fall into a state of severe viral illness. Instant outbreak of acute gastroenteritis. Symptoms appear within a short period of time. However, is it acceptable for a healer to possess such skills? Lin Luo decided to test these skills on animals first. A test subject was chosen, a demonic giant rat, the leader of the pack. Lin Luo thought it might be a boss. The monster was bloodthirsty and had a venomous bite. It was also the strongest member of its species in the region. The boss attacked our hero on its own. Lin Luo thought he had killed too many monsters in just a few days, which is why the boss had set its sights on him. The young man used his unique skill, Skin Rip, against this monster. The monster was so strong that it managed to withstand the blow, but it didn't come out unscathed. Lin Luo activated Bloodthirst and Pain Amplification. The monster began to scream at an unbearable volume. The protagonist determined that he was facing a level 15 boss. To take it down, it would take 10 level 10 professionals. If this trend continued, all he'd need to do was acquire a few more skills, and he could simply go around collecting loot. Lin Luo considered himself extremely lucky, since the demonic rat boss had already been defeated. A group of hunters appeared nearby. One of them called out to Lin Luo. The young man turned around. The group's leader said that all the monsters in this area belonged to their Star Ocean Alliance. If the outsider didn't leave, they'd have to kill him. Our hero said he didn't agree with that line of reasoning. Lin Luo sat down on a stump off to the side and watched as the group tried to defeat the monster. They shouted that this boss wasn't easy to handle, even if he was wounded. One of the players told the leader that he was more worried about that guy than about the monster. Although he had backed down, he was still watching. The player suggested that this stranger was up to no good. The party leader said that no one would dare to take advantage of or trick them unless they wanted to die. One of the group members suddenly shouted that his stomach hurt. A colleague reported having the same problem. The player warned that he could no longer hold it in. Then his pants ripped, and the contents of his intestines burst out. The other members of the team were subjected to the same punishment. Each of them clutched their stomachs and said they no longer had the strength to hold it in. Then another calamity struck. Everyone began to choke on the unbearable stench. Could this really be the boss's skill? Lin Luo offered to help the hunters so they could finish the battle with the monster more quickly. All the members of this team were out of commission because their stomachs were aching and they couldn't think about anything else. As a result, the monsters were destroyed and the hunters were deactivated. Lin Luo knew that in any case, he would be the one to reap the rewards. The boss, a giant demonic rat, had been defeated. Lin Luo gained experience points. The player leveled up to level 11. He received 4 free attribute points. Our hero was delighted, as he was now offered equipment and a skill book. Lin Luo also received the demonic rat's fur, fangs, and ring. The skill book went to the protagonist as well. Lin Luo thought that bosses usually only drop resources, but in this case he was lucky because he had defeated the boss single-handedly. The young man thought that this ring increased mental energy regeneration speed, which was exactly what he needed. Lin Luo didn't notice any changes in his passive skills after putting on the ring. Equipment skills cannot mutate, just like passive skills. The protagonist acquired a new skill, Virus Spread. When activated, it releases a virus that poisons enemies, dealing a certain amount of damage and weakening their magical defense. The young man decided to test the skill book to see how useful it was. Lin Luo learned the skill, Black Plague Explosion. This disease is known as bubonic plague. The skill allows him to quickly spread the plague to a specific target or area. It is highly contagious and caused one of the most terrifying epidemics in history. It is just as terrifying as the Heavenly Curse. The protagonist realized that his Black Plague was only level 1, so it wasn't that terrifying. However, it shouldn't be underestimated. If combined with the pain amplification spell, it could create a plague zone with a high degree of destruction. Lin Luo decided to put all the materials in his backpack, since they also had some value. The protagonist spotted a rift in space and concluded that it looked like a secret realm. It was a newly formed realm. Secret realms differ from ordinary dungeons in that there is always a high risk of death within them. However, inside them lie countless monsters, gear, and treasures. The rewards in a secret realm are far more valuable than in dungeons of the same level. Each time one appears, it causes a stir among professionals. Dungeons and secret realms are usually divided into categories. There are 4 difficulty levels. The higher the difficulty, the greater the rewards. The difficulty level of this realm was the 2nd out of 4. Would it be difficult to clear it alone? Our hero thought if he left now to seek help, this realm might fall into someone else's hands. Wealth and risk. The young man decided to fight for it. The group of players felt their mission was going quite well. Kiyoshi hadn't expected to find a skill book here. Soon she would reach a new level. Kiyoshi glanced to the side and spotted the entrance to the secret world. It looked as if it had just appeared. The players thought this was a huge stroke of luck. After all, no one had expected to find an entrance to the secret world here. They needed to go over and take a closer look. The young people decided they could sell this entrance for 3 million. The girl said 4 million. If they named a price, she was ready to buy it. A player told Kiyoshi not to do it. After all, she didn't know if there was anyone inside. The girl replied that they checked everyone on their way here. There were only low-level newbies here. They wouldn't dare go inside. The secret realm, the Scarlet Altar. The main quest requires you to defeat the monsters in the cave and destroy the Scarlet Altar. Originally, this cave was a sacred place where generations of lizard people had lived. However, 100 years ago, the lizard people were corrupted and turned into monsters. Lin Luo knew that as soon as he entered the secret world, a quest would appear. Completing it would allow him to clear the level, but this quest was no easy task. The lizard men, infected by magic, had become extremely bloodthirsty and brutal. They had thick skin but a natural fear of magic. Their stats and health were nearly half that of the leader of the giant demon rats, and that was just for the regular monsters. It was nice to see that their spirit attribute was so low. It meant their perception of magic was high. The monsters rushed at Lin Luo. The young man noticed that their senses were incredibly keen. However, by using his skills, the protagonist was able to defeat these monsters as well. A bout of diarrhea wiped them out. A foul stench was a side effect. Lin Luo thought that for a cold-blooded race living in darkness and dampness, this smell was simply devastating. It was hard to endure. Lin Luo realized that he wasn't out in the fresh air, but inside a gigantic, unventilated cave. He couldn't use his usual skill, otherwise he might die from the stench before all the monsters were destroyed. Our hero said that in that case he'd have to try a new skill. Kiyoshi posted a guard near the entrance to the secret world. Yining told her aunt that she'd found a glowing kitten wandering in the dark forest. Not only is it cute, but it also has healing abilities. It's also perfect as a pet. Kiyoshi told her niece that she had found a suitable secret world for her. It would be her birthday present. Kiyoshi noticed that 4 carefully selected teams of bodyguards from the family were stuck on the 15th level. With them, one can reap a good harvest from the secret world. Besides, they're reliable guys. The bodyguards said in unison that they would guarantee the young lady's safety even at the cost of their own lives. Yining thought it would be better to rely on herself to assemble her own team. However, since it was a gift from her aunt, she couldn't refuse. Kiyoshi noticed that this was a new secret location. No one from another family should see it, so they needed to hurry. The girl approached the gates, but a gust of wind blew her back. The guards reported that there were people inside, so it was impossible to enter. It was unknown how many people were there, or what kind of team they were. Kiyoshi realized that someone had beaten her to it. She assumed it might be a newcomer who had ended up there by mistake. But that didn't matter. They would go in after that newcomer had perished inside. Kiyoshi regretted not checking beforehand, but she hadn't even considered the possibility that anyone might be there. Yining, recovering from the shock, began to wonder who could possibly be in there. The monster lizard was feeling extremely unwell under the influence of the protagonist's skill. Information was received that Lin Luo had defeated a level 15 enchanted lizard. The young man also received experience points, and the enchanted lizard's hide, his player level, rose to 12. His 4 attributes increased. Lin Luo thought that, as expected from a monster of that level, he had managed to gain a lot of experience points and 2 levels to boot. The young man reflected that the horror of the Black Plague lay in its powerful contagion and instantaneous outbreak. If this occurred in an open area where monsters were scattered everywhere, this skill might not be all that powerful. After all, the contagion could be dispersed. However, this was a gigantic, nearly enclosed cave. With poor ventilation and a high density of monsters, the infection could spread rapidly, far and wide, and linger for a long time. It would be ideal if the Black Plague spread to all the monsters and then concentrated in one spot. After carefully assessing the situation, Lin Luo realized what was going on. He couldn't just rush in and use his skills. There were too many lizards there that could drown him with a single spit. The young man thought the best approach would be to find the source of the infection. However, ordinary lizards have a limited range of movement. Lin Luo spotted an albino lizard. It was a level 15 magical creature, a variant of an enchanted lizard. Its rough skin provided strong physical defense, but it didn't negate its natural fear of magic. The young man thought this was definitely an elite monster. The perfect target had been chosen. The monster was attacked and suddenly froze. The subordinates asked, "Why did the boss freeze? What happened to the captain?" The boss replied that he was experiencing a slight tremor. The soldiers were to continue patrolling. When the Black Plague takes effect, one individual infects the others. Lin Luo felt that the virus had spread everywhere. It was an exponential infection. The young man thought that these lizards had no sense of hygiene whatsoever. Even if they saw a stain, they just assume it was dirt. Lin Luo waved his staff and decided it was time to act. Time to activate the Black Plague. The protagonist triggered the outbreak. As a result of his well-planned actions, the monsters were destroyed and the player gained experience points. A notification appeared indicating a level up to level 13 and the acquisition of 4 attributes. The levels continued to rise. Lin Luo noted that he had leveled up 6 times in just a few minutes. This was befitting of a secret world where no human had ever set foot. There were a great many monsters here, and therefore plenty of work to be done. The protagonist noticed that an elite monster was still alive. Lin Luo headed straight for it. The elite monster was the Scarlet Lizard Priest. The monster possessed the following skills: healing with blood flames, mental shock, bloodbind, madness, and flame of the mind. The protagonist thought to himself that this wasn't just an elite monster, it was a full-fledged boss. It was about to use its healing skill. Our hero decided to take down this boss while he still had the chance. However, the boss let out a loud scream and collapsed to the ground without even putting up a fight. Fortunately for the protagonist, this boss was weakened. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to defeat him. Clearing out the monsters and destroying the boss at the same time was simply too much to handle. Lin Luo decided he needed to deal with the remaining monsters as soon as possible. After that, he could destroy the boss's altar. Suddenly, a powerful explosion occurred. With the boss at its epicenter, Lin Luo was surprised. What could this mean? Our hero saw that the monsters were returning to the body of the destroyed boss. The young man watched in horror as the monsters devoured the boss's body and merged with one another. This definitely didn't bode well. As a result of this transformation, a berserker emerged, an albino lizard priest mutant. In a state of intense rage, it devours bodies, and the delicate balance between magic and the virus within its body makes it even more powerful. Lin Luo thought that he was currently very exhausted and unable to use his skills. The monster attacked the man using stones tied to a chain. It screamed that its opponent would be destroyed. However, Lin Luo managed to dodge the blow. The young man realized he needed to restore his magical energy, otherwise he wouldn't be able to fight. Lin Luo took a bottle containing the necessary liquid from his storage. The protagonist began to restore his acid-base balance by consuming the liquid. However, the monster continued its attacks. Lin Luo was knocked aside and said that this scoundrel wouldn't let him recover. He hadn't even had time to finish the liquid. Lin Luo was forced to retreat to a safe distance. The blood pack skill was activated. The protagonist summoned the Black Plague and directed it at the monster. The boss dodged and the attack missed. The player noted the failed attack but decided it didn't matter. After all, the boss wasn't the main target. The monster began closing in on our hero again. The young man was forced to retreat and continued fending it off with Black Plague. The young man began taking deep breaths in and out. Even though his health was nearly at zero, his mana was now full, just as he'd wanted. The boss declared that even if the man had taken his recovery potion, none of his skills would be of any use. Lin Luo replied that he didn't understand a word of the monster's language anyway. Our hero stated if the boss thought he had even the slightest chance of winning, he should turn around first. The young man explained that while his opponent was fighting, he had used his Black Plague skill. However, the boss wasn't his target. Now the monster could turn around and look at the bodies surrounding him. Lin Luo explained that those bodies now contained an incredible amount of the virus. He had used all his mana for that single skill. Does the boss have any idea what will happen when the bodies explode? What a feast that will be for the virus. The protagonist activated the skin explosion skill. Lin Luo stated that the boss is nothing more than a temporary mutant. The virus carried by flesh and blood will reach the boss's body. This will be enough to disrupt the already fragile balance within his organism. After that, the boss will be destroyed. As a result of his actions, Lin Luo managed to destroy the vicious white mutated priest lizard and earned 2 mastery points. His level has been raised to 20 and all stats have increased. He received the Staff of Crimson Fury, as well as the stainless steel meteor hammer. The protagonist thought that the Staff of Crimson Fury increased the chance of a critical hit. A new ability also appeared. Now he can cast Bloodlust on a target. The steel meteor hammer deals damage to all targets and has a chance to stun them. Now our hero can learn new skills and make full use of his mastery points. He can use the skills Confusion and Alzheimer's disease. Lin Luo thought his skills were becoming increasingly absurd. Next, he decided to study the flu virus, as it might be a useful skill. The young man saw many more items dropped by monsters. He needed to collect them quickly for resale. The protagonist saw lizard warriors in front of him who were suited for physical labor. Their summoning had been activated. Finally, Lin Luo found something worthwhile. It was an item that could be upgraded. It was the greatest reward in this realm, the demonized rune. Now the owner can absorb the breath and soul of alien creatures, destroying them. Lin Luo decided that the secret realm mission was complete. The player earned 100,000 experience points. A special item was also obtained, the Cross of Resurrection. The player received an exclusive certificate to change their profession. A unique book on changing a secret profession was also obtained. It must be used to start the quest to change a hidden profession. A special item was obtained to enter into a contract with the River Styx. Our hero now possesses a special item, the Cross of Resurrection. It must be bound to the player with a drop of blood to gain the ability to resurrect. The cross must be placed where the target is located, and the target will be resurrected after death. Kiyoshi, her niece, and the guards continued to wait near the gates to the secret world. The guards noticed someone emerging from the secret realm. Presumably, this player had failed the quest and decided to return. Kiyoshi wanted to know which team had beaten them to it. Kiyoshi and everyone else were surprised when only one person appeared through the gates. The woman said she remembered this guy. It was that same younger brother. Poor kid. All his companions must have died and he was left alone. However, that was what was bound to happen to any inexperienced player. The guy had to be brave to admit something like that. Lin Luo was surprised that this woman would say such a thing. Yining was surprised. Could this really be Lin Luo? The protagonist was surprised. Could Yining have come here to hunt as well? A classmate asked if Lin Luo's injuries were serious. After all, the secret realm is very dangerous. Where's his whole team? The protagonist replied that he didn't have a team. He worked alone. The protagonist suggested they talk later because he needed to go somewhere right now. Lin Luo thought he needed to hurry and retrieve what had been found in the secret realm to later exchange it for money. Yining told Lin Luo to wait for her. Those present assumed that this guy was just showing off by claiming he hunted alone. However, the girl was far too naive. Kiyoshi said that it was her niece's personal business who she chose to be friends with. The guards must continue to guard the gates to the secret realm until it becomes a target. One of the guards shouted that something was wrong. After all, the gates to the secret realm were disappearing. But how is that possible? Could Lin Luo really have cleared out the secret realm all by himself? Yining caught up with her classmate and said she would go with him. The boy looked back and asked what she wanted. The girl explained that those people were bodyguards her aunt had hired for her safety. They didn't believe the young man, but she was certain that Lin Luo was telling the truth. The protagonist replied that he didn't care. The girl asked if she could team up with Lin Luo for the group exam. Each exam is divided into a team portion and an individual portion. Teams usually consist of 4 people, and the results depend on the number of floors they clear. The individual task is a one-on-one battle in the arena. Depending on the result, a player may not only be accepted into a good college, but also have the opportunity to receive a special reward. Lin Luo pointed out that he was just a D-rank healer. Yining should find someone better. The girl replied that she only wanted him. She felt more comfortable working in a team with people she knew. Lin Luo thought, why does this invitation to join the team sound so strange? The girl had already invited him, so it would be rude to turn her down. The guy agreed. On his way home, Lin Luo sold everything he needed and got the necessary amount of money. He'd earned a lot of money, and on top of that, he had the gold he'd looted from monsters. The door to the room swung open, and Tang Cheng appeared in the doorway. He asked where Lin Luo had been all these days. Why hadn't he shown up at school to level up with the teacher? The protagonist pointed out that he hadn't invited his friend over to be lectured. Our hero showed him the items he wanted to give to Tang Cheng. They were a beast sword and bronze-level armor. The guy asked which rich guy Lin Luo had robbed. Our hero replied that he had gone to Ratglade to level up. Now they could team up for the exam and get into one of the top 10 colleges. Tang Cheng was delighted and said he would call Lin Luo his brother. The protagonist replied that his family would be against it. The man was surprised. Could Yining really be saying she was turning down the Dongfan family's invitation? But that was absurd. The young master of that family had attained an S-rank profession. Teaming up with him would guarantee first place. Her father added that he had almost sealed a deal with young Master Dongfan. Yining accused her father of being rude and pointed out that Lin Luo was her friend and that he was amazing. This guy had cleared out the secret realm all by himself. He was even better than young Master Dongfan. The man said that was interesting. Apparently, this guy is an S-rank professional. Yining replied that he's a D-rank healer. Her father was surprised. Could a D-rank healer really have cleared out the secret realm? He'd never believed such stories. It wasn't worth making him angry. Kiyoshi told her brother that his daughter was right. She herself had witnessed what happened. This guy definitely has some secrets. Yining's choice might be quite the right one. The man said he was washing his hands of the matter. His daughter and sister could do as they pleased. The day of the exam arrived, the Tower of Trials. Bin, the live broadcast host, greeted viewers directly from the Tower of Trials. She noted that today, more than 20,000 new professionals would enter the tower to have their abilities assessed. Everyone knows that there are about 1,000 such towers in the world. They are a gift from the heavens. Furthermore, all professionals are required to pass through these towers. This structure has 999 floors. Whoever manages to reach the 1,000th floor will become a god, breaking all boundaries between gods and humans. It's just an exam. Anyone who reaches even the 20th floor will already be an incredible genius. According to the rankings, Morang Shuen, an S-rank angel, is in first place. In second place is the S-rank dragon rider, Dongfan Xi. Rumor has it that he hatched a fire dragon from an egg that appeared after his awakening. Tang Cheng asked his friend who would be their third teammate. Was Lin Luo sure that the third member of their team could deal damage to monsters? Yining was delighted to find her classmates, since there were so many people here. The protagonist said that now everyone was assembled. Tang Cheng was delighted to see the prettiest girl in the class on their team. Lin Luo told everyone to get ready, since the trials were about to begin. Dongfan Xi watched the proceedings closely from above. He said that Yining had rejected him, and that was very foolish. The assistant told his boss that he had brought the person as ordered. Dongfan looked at the young man and said that this was Yang Haoran. His father is the deputy director of a steel mill. His mother is a housewife. The young man had awakened the profession of an A-rank magic swordsman within himself. Yang Haoran said that, after all, there was. He thought that Dongfan was genuinely interested in his past. But what was he up to? Dongfan said that his invitation had been rejected, and he urgently needed someone for his team. Haoran's profession was a perfect fit for his team. The young man replied that he would follow Dongfan. Yang Haoran thought that in that case, the teammates who had been with him before wouldn't be able to pass this test. So they were just unlucky. Dongfan asked if there was a hidden professional at the school named Yining. Haoran confirmed this. She is the Snow Queen's spirit. Could Dongfan have fallen in love with her? Dongfan replied that there was only one girl worthy of his attention. That girl is Shuen, the youngest daughter of the Morang family. Shuen said this was unexpected, but Yining had teamed up with two unknown guys, which was very strange. She should have chosen someone better. After all, you have to take care of yourself first. The woman said there was no need to worry. First place would definitely go to Shuen. The knight declared that he would protect the lady at the cost of his own life. Shuen stated that she didn't care about rank. However, she wanted the most marvelous relic in the world and the prize awarded to the winner. The host announced that the exam was about to begin. Everyone should get ready to enter. The participants went inside and found themselves in the Tower of Trials. They had heard that each level contained its own independent world. Monsters roamed everywhere. The protagonist thought that he would finally be able to show off his skills. Yining activated her ice attack and told Lin Luo to stay behind her. She would protect him. The observers noted that more and more floors were being burned away in the Tower of Trials. According to the rules, the more floors a team cleared within 12 hours, the better their result would be. The participants were doing their absolute best to make an impression. One of the teams had already reached the 7th floor, which seemed incredibly fast. The top-ranked teams had already made significant progress. Their leaders were Dongfan Xi and Morang Shuen. In third place was the team that included a girl with the ice profession. One of her teammates is just sitting there watching the show. What kind of loser is this? His teammates are doing their best to pass the trials, but this guy is just goofing off. Lin Luo told the girl that he's a healer, but he doesn't have any healing abilities. He can only give her a health potion. These monsters aren't strong enough for him to do anything about. Yining stated that Lin Luo is still vulnerable, so they'll protect him. The onlookers said that Lin Luo looks very weak, yet acts confidently. That girl is the daughter of the Lin family, the school goddess who has awakened the A-rank professional within herself, the spirit of the Snow Queen. The knight accompanying her is a C-rank professional. The woman noted that even with these two losers, the girl had made it through 10 floors solely thanks to her own strength. However, she won't be able to go any further. Kiyoshi thought that even if the guy who had cleared the secret realm was a loser, all the other participants were nothing more than a waste of time. She hoped her niece would have the courage to pursue her goal. After a while, the observer noted that the number of floors cleared was increasing. More and more participants were getting injured or even killed. As they climbed higher in the tower, the monsters grew stronger. If anyone made it to the 26th floor, it would break the city's record. However, after the 15th floor, there were practically no camera recordings. The monsters are so powerful that they wipe out all the hunters. However, this is good for individual missions, as it prevents information about the participants' secret abilities from leaking. Lian Yining's team fell from 3rd place to the top 30. This is understandable, since the girl is carrying 2 underachievers on her back. The young people followed their team leader. The girl took deep breaths to steady herself. At one point, Lian Yining said that this was her limit. Tang Cheng said that Yining was truly amazing. Other teams work together, but in this team, everyone relies solely on the leader. The fact that they'd made it to the 19th floor was already amazing. Lin Luo told his teammates that they needed to switch positions. He would lead the way from here on. Tang Cheng was surprised. Wasn't Lian Yining their team leader? The girl noted that Lin Luo had cleared the secret realm all by himself. She was no match for him. Tang Cheng glanced at the info panel and saw that his friend was at level 26. He would definitely be able to break the record. The protagonist asked Yining to unfreeze one monster. The girl agreed but asked why it was necessary. The protagonist asked what the monster would do if they released it. Yining replied that most monsters live in packs. If they realize their enemy is stronger, they return for reinforcements. Lin Luo confirmed this. He told the girl to unfreeze the monster and get ready to level up. Lian Yining still didn't understand how Lin Luo had single-handedly wiped out the secret realm, but she was very eager to see it for herself. The monster was unfrozen, turned around, and began to run away. Our hero noted that this monster was very fast and extremely angry. After a while, a dozen more of its allies returned along with this monster. Tang Cheng was surprised what was going on. That monster couldn't have brought reinforcements so quickly. Yining was also surprised where had all these monsters and trolls come from. Tang Cheng noticed that they had cleared the area of monsters. The protagonist noticed that people were watching them from a distance. These people had deliberately brought the monsters to slow down the other participants. What's wrong with these scoundrels? One of the monsters came very close to Yining. The girl thought it was already too late to defend herself. At that moment, the protagonist activated his skill. Summoning, the summoned lizards appeared. The guy was hoping for gradual improvement but didn't think he could pull it off. However, he ordered the lizard warriors to attack the monsters. Tang Cheng was surprised. Could his friend really have a skill like that? Could he actually summon a monster? Yining thought it was simply amazing. This skill was linked to some kind of item. The people who had herded the monsters here thought this team was very strong, since they defeated so many monsters. So, the plan to use monsters to eliminate competitors had worked. However, suddenly there were even more monsters. Those people would definitely die if they didn't run away right now. One of the hunters said that this floor was as far as that team could go. Now they needed to hurry and find the entrance to the next level. Tang Cheng pointed out that the number of monsters had increased several-fold. What were they supposed to do now? Clearly that monster had brought in reinforcements. Lin Luo declared that it was time to make their move. The guy activated the Black Plague skill. Next came the explosion skill. The consequences for the monsters were catastrophic. A report came in that this team had wiped out the goblins and earned experience points. Tang Cheng couldn't believe they'd received such a generous reward. They were literally just standing on the sidelines and leveling up. The protagonist declared that this wouldn't be enough. He planned to take over the entire floor. Tang Cheng and Lian Yining watched the aftermath of their teammates' actions. The tower's energy response was inadequate. The skill spread throughout the entire floor. New notifications appeared stating that goblins had been defeated and experience points had been earned. Tang Cheng couldn't believe that the amount of experience was still increasing. Could his friend really have such a massive poison skill? Yining stated that this thing was definitely contagious. Lian Yining explained that goblins often hunt poisonous monsters and have high resistance to poison. So Lin Luo's ability isn't just a poison. The protagonist remarked that this girl was indeed very smart. It really isn't poison, it's more like a disease. The protagonist noticed that his skill allows him to infect a target with a virus and infect it in a short period of time. This virus is highly contagious, and many goblins are currently infected with it. Given that so many monsters are infected, it's safe to say that the number of viruses exceeds 1 million billion. A quantitative change will lead to a qualitative change, and this dense cloud of viruses will be able to envelop the entire floor. Tang Cheng asked his friend not to scare him. After all these viruses could eat them alive. Lin Luo replied that there was no need to worry. He had the viruses under control. Our hero added that the situation was different for the rest of the people. The rival group speculated that those hunters were no longer in the Tower of Trials. Otherwise, the monsters would have devoured them, leaving not even a bone behind. One of the hunters suggested they pick up the pace. He had figured out where the entrance to the next floor was. They should be there in 10 minutes. However, the hunters were surprised when they saw a cloud above their heads. Where had it come from? The cloud turned out to be enormous and ominous. They had to figure out whether the cloud was a mirage or poisonous. The smell was unbearable. It was impossible to breathe. The hunters complained of headaches. They had to get out of there. If they kept climbing upward, they could die. Spectators wondered how many more floors these guys would be able to clear. Last year's record was 26 floors. This time there were 4 participants with S-rank professions, and their skill level was higher than that of their predecessors. Maybe they'd even reach the 28th floor. In recent years, monsters in caves, the Star Sea, and other areas beyond the territory have become increasingly ferocious, putting immense pressure on the troops stationed there. There is hope that the new generation will be able to mature quickly. That's why the city of Binhan is striving to inspire new professionals by awarding rare world-class items as prizes for first place. That's incredibly generous. One of the instructors told his colleagues to stop talking and pay attention to the tower. A huge cloud of toxic fog had appeared on the 19th floor. Players on the 19th floor were experiencing discomfort and headaches. They demanded that medical personnel be sent. Many believed they had been poisoned and might die. It's possible that this is an unusual poison and that an antidote would be useless here. Medical staff noticed that all participants from the 19th floor had returned. Many were diagnosed with poisoning. Perhaps the monsters from the 26th floor had escaped to the 19th. That's also possible. The doctor speculated that this player wasn't poisoned. It looked more like he was sick with something. His health panel also indicated a serious illness. The players are infected with some kind of dangerous virus. The elder admitted that it is indeed a viral infection. Judging by the spots, it's the Black Plague. This disease could have originated on the 19th floor. However, the boss monster capable of spreading such a disease is located on the 50th floor. The elder speculated that this might be his doing. What is really going on there? An infected player said he saw only a toxic cloud. After that, he developed a headache and chest pain. There were no dangerous monsters. On the contrary, they were all dying in huge numbers. The professor thought that the plague's area of effect was limited. Many participants had already reached the 20th floor and even higher. Notably, there were S-rank professionals there who had rushed to the 26th floor, which was certainly encouraging. Yang Haran told Mr. Dongfan that his preparation was truly remarkable. Another participant said he couldn't believe they had a special item designed to deal with ice monsters. Now, the monsters wouldn't even be able to get close to them. Dongfan declared that with his family's reconnaissance system, he would be ready to face monsters of any level. His goal was to reach the 28th floor. Harun reiterated that Dongfan is truly fearless. It's a great honor to work with him on the same team. This team is currently the only one on the 26th floor. The team leader noted that Morang Shuen and her team might also be here. Dongfan added that this was the best they could do, and that was regrettable. Morang Shuen and her team were indeed engaged in a fierce battle with monsters at that moment. The assistant said that the number of monsters was simply enormous. It seemed as though they were specifically targeting this team. What should they do? The female assistant told Shuen that she had no strength left. Shuen replied that thanks to Mei, she could conserve as much of her strength as possible. From now on, she would mainly be dealing damage. Mei admitted that she had actually smeared their bodies with jade bee honey. It's the poisonous monster's favorite treat. In the future, there will be even more monsters, and not even Shuen will be able to survive them. Morang asked why Mei had done that. The girl replied that she had been driven by jealousy. Shuen was born with beautiful skin, is constantly surrounded by guys, and enjoys all the blessings of this world. Mei added that only Dongfan was different and truly appreciated her. He even promised that if she helped him win, he would marry her and make her part of the Dongfan family. Mei asked Shuen to simply sacrifice herself just this once. The assistant was outraged. How dare that wretch betray them? Shuen claimed that Dongfan had deceived her and was simply using her. Mei replied that this was impossible. Dongfan would never lie to her. He was honest and wanted to introduce her to his older family members. Shuen was simply jealous of her. Mei added that she had never beaten Shuen, so at least when it came to men, she would come out on top. The assistant asked Morang what they should do now. Would they be able to break through this floor? Shuen replied that there was no need. They were good enough for tomorrow's individual challenges. She added that once she passes these trials, she'll reclaim first place. The entrance to the 20th floor, Tang Cheng remarked that it's easy to pass the trials when Lin Luo is by his side. They managed to clear the floor of monsters and gained a lot of experience. The protagonist said it was too early to celebrate. There's a lot of work ahead. Now they need to proceed immediately to the next level. Tang Cheng said he would follow the leader's orders in everything and that they would easily be able to handle any challenge. Yining pointed out that while Lin Luo's skills are excellent for defeating monsters, there must be a limit related to magical energy. On the lower floors, the monsters are weaker and lack strong magical defenses. On the upper floors, things are different. Lin Luo said that Yining was right, but the limitations weren't limited to that. His abilities were only useful in hidden realms and dungeons where monsters gathered in groups. His skills weren't very effective in large open spaces with good air circulation. The protagonist pointed out that there was another very important factor. His ability affects a large area. When monsters are destroyed, other players may also be affected. Yining noted that the other players were able to escape the tower and heal themselves before they died, but this would affect their scores. By acting this way, they must not harm the other participants. Lin Luo pointed out that in this world of combat, if you don't fight, you'll die. Professionals bear a huge responsibility, and their lives are always in danger. If they can't even withstand a setback like this, how will they fight monsters and invaders in the future? Tang Cheng said that Lin Luo was absolutely right, and he was ready to stand in their way. Yining added that she too would stand by Lin Luo's side. The protagonist called on his comrades to follow him to the next level. The Tower of Trials, level 20. Monsters were visible everywhere. Tang Cheng decided to lure the monsters toward him and shouted loudly. The guy kept throwing rocks at the monsters and telling them to fight him. However, when the monsters started to approach, Tang Cheng got scared, turned around, and ran away. The young man ran up to the leader and said he had lured the monsters to him. Now it was time to use the virus. One of the monsters closed in on the protagonist to a dangerous distance. Yining reacted with lightning speed and destroyed the monster. The girl declared that as long as she was there, no one would lay a finger on Lin Luo. The protagonist looked at the number of monsters and suggested launching an attack. The instructors noted that Dongfan Xi's team and the unrivaled swordsman Chen Ping'an's team had reached the 27th floor. The record had been broken. It was a shame that Morang hadn't been able to make it that far. An instructor remarked that Shuen was very strong. Perhaps an accident had occurred. The elder observed that among those Dongfan had suppressed, true geniuses might emerge in the future. The dragon priest had been suppressed many times out of envy whenever he demonstrated his talent, yet he still became the best. One of the guards reported to the head and the instructors that something bad was about to happen. Poisonous clouds have reappeared in the trial tower above the 19th floor and continue to rise. In just 4 hours, the poisonous cloud reached the 24th floor. According to rough estimates, about 3,000 participants have been infected. At the moment, aside from a few low-ranking participants, there are several top students who are located above the 24th floor. The director asked how many participants were currently upstairs. The guard replied that there were at least 100. The instructors wondered what was happening up there. Is there really a special boss monster there? However, even if there is a powerful boss, it doesn't seem likely that it would have made its way from the 19th to the 26th floor. Most likely, a human did it. One instructor asked a colleague, "Do you really think there are traitors in the teams?" Over the past 300 years of the apocalypse, most of humanity has fought for survival with the help of a handful of professionals. Some of them are exceptions. They either refuse to accept their failed awakening or seek even greater power. That is why they decided to submit to an alien demonic god. In their view, the end of the world has already come, and dedicating the entire world to the demon is the only way to preserve human civilization. That is why they hid in the darkness, seeking to destroy and overthrow human power and dominion. These people are called the Fallen. The instructor said that if the Fallen were involved, they would have destroyed all the participants. Why give them a chance to escape? A colleague replied that the Fallen might be targeting S-rank professionals. The leader said that the tower is locked down during the exam, so no one can enter. We can only hope for these talented people. The number of Fallen who got inside isn't that large. Perhaps the professionals will be able to fight them off. The Tower of Trials, level 26. The hunting team entered this floor. Tan Hang remarked once again that Lin Luo was truly incredible. After all, it was thanks to him that they had conquered the 20th floor. Yining noticed that she had also reached level 25. If she told anyone about this, they would definitely be scared. The protagonist announced that he was already at level 30. He also had 4 skills to learn. After reviewing the information he'd received, our hero saw that he now possessed the skill Sexual Desire. Within a short period of time, these mutated skills can cause the target to lose their rationality and feel an urge to mate with surrounding creatures of any gender, at any time, in any place, and in any state. The other abilities were no less astonishing: genital warts, gonorrhea, and outbreak of syphilis. Lin Luo thought this was very cruel. He should swap these mutated skills for normal ones. How could a decent person possess such abilities? The protagonist decided that in any case, he had to study all these abilities without missing a single one. Lian Yining asked why Lin Luo had such a strange expression on his face. Tong Cheng suggested that he had the smile of a pervert. The girl asked what Lin Luo was doing. The guy replied that they'd be better off not knowing. Yining reminded him that after reaching level 30, he could complete a quest to obtain a second profession. Was Lin Luo ready for this? The protagonist agreed to take a look at the quest to obtain the profession. He remembered that in the secret realm, he had acquired a special book for obtaining a hidden profession. He no longer needed to wait. The player activated the special book to obtain a hidden profession. Now he had to prepare to complete the mission. He had to choose one of the following hidden professions as his second specialty. The options offered were Dark Lord and Evil Doctor. The protagonist had never heard of them. Which one should he choose? Dark Lord, a unique hidden profession that seems powerful. However, he has a feeling it won't fit well with his current skills. Moreover, he'll have to change his appearance and look like a skeleton, which is quite inconvenient. Evil Doctor, by choosing this option, the player will become the most evil and unprofessional doctor in history. The skill Irresponsible Surgery will be acquired. Lin Luo thought that Evil Doctor was brilliant. It felt like a box of surprises. Who could possibly turn down such an interesting and no-strings-attached surgical procedure? Lin Luo activated the profession change and became the Evil Doctor. The hidden profession had been selected. He received the unique hidden quest Silver Heart. This is the only class change quest. Defeat the alien boss and obtain its heart. Lin Luo told his companions that from this point on, their paths would diverge. The girl asked, "Is this because of the class change quest? Did he need help?" Tang Cheng said he could also help fend off a few battles, and besides, it was safer to go together. Lin Luo replied that he needed to defeat a silver-tier alien boss. It was difficult to find one under normal circumstances. Even if they did find it, influential people might snatch the boss away. As it happened, there was indeed one such boss in the Tower of Trials. Yining pointed out that if Lin Luo was referring to the boss on the 30th floor, it would be too dangerous to go there alone. The protagonist replied that it was too big a target for 3 people, and he wouldn't be able to look out for everyone. The next level would be very difficult for his friends. Tang Cheng remarked that without Lin Luo, he would have been stuck on the 19th floor. Lin Luo cut off the conversation and said they'd see each other later. Yining told Lin Luo to wait a moment. The girl noticed that the boy needed to take precautions for his safety, so she handed him a substitute doll. It was a unique, single-use item that, when worn, could be used once to block an attack, after which it would disappear. Lin Luo refused, saying that this item was more important to Yining, so he couldn't accept it. Yining insisted because his safety was very important to her. She was very worried about Lin Luo as a friend. Yining told Tang Chen that it was time for them to leave. The guy advised the protagonist to take care of himself. Lin Luo realized that this was too expensive a gift. Should he return it? Hunters from other groups were engaged in fierce battles with local monsters as they advanced toward their intended target. The player noticed that they hadn't encountered a single ordinary monster. Instead, they stumbled upon colossal level 35 monsters, the Hellhounds. A player from another team told Dongfan that this encounter was merely a coincidence. They needed to work together. Both sides would benefit if they conserved their strength. Dongfan agreed. Dongfan stated that the nearest entrance to the 28th floor was near the lava lake. He knew the way. Everyone should follow him. Chen Pingun said he would clear the path. The player activated the thunderous phantom sword skill. The path was immediately cleared. As they advanced, they used the mountain split technique and activated the demon chi sword skill. This was followed by a 3-tier magic shield. Dongfan said they needed to hurry. Directly ahead lay a lava lake. The exit was also located there. A huge monster emerged from the lava lake. It roared loudly and prepared to attack the hunters. One of the players identified the monster and said it was the boss of the 27th floor, the King of Hell. He usually sleeps in the lava lake. So why did it come out? Chen Ping-on claimed that the King of the Hellhounds was angry at them because of the Dongfan dragon. They have identical stats. If the king gets this dragon, he'll be able to evolve. Dongfan replied that the king wouldn't have enough strength. But isn't Chen Ping-an even trying to escape? Chen Ping-an replied that the thought had never even crossed his mind. After all, they are not only rivals but also friends. Moreover, their families are closely connected. He cannot just stand by and watch while the King of Hell sets his sights on Dongfan. The squad leaders shouted for the players to join the battle and destroy this monster. Yining and Tang Chen left the tower. The girl, blushing with embarrassment, kept repeating that she had touched Lin Luo's hand. His hands were warm and strong, and her heart was beating very fast. Tang Cheng thought that now he would have to call this girl by a different name. Yining knew that Lin Luo was alone in the Tower of Trials right now. She didn't have time to think about such things. The young man had to take care of himself. Tang Cheng told his daughter-in-law not to worry. Lin Luo was very strong. He would be just fine. The girl was surprised by how Tang Cheng had addressed her. He replied that Yining couldn't hide from him what had happened between her and Lin Luo. Wasn't it she who had written him a love letter in their freshman year of high school? He had accidentally looked into her desk drawer and seen that letter. The girl was surprised and asked how Lin Luo had reacted to it. She hadn't received a reply back then and thought he hadn't even glanced at the letter. Tang Cheng said that all this time Lin Luo had been going crazy. He kept talking about coming back in his dreams. It took a lot of time to talk him out of it. Lin Luo was also worried about Yining. The girl now understood why Lin Luo had taken such a long break that year. People near the tower saw Yang Haran and Zhang Men appear. As a result, Dongfang's most anticipated team also began to lose its fighters. Yang Haran asked Yining if she was okay and what floor they had reached. Tang Cheng asked why Yang Haran was acting so carelessly around his daughter-in-law. He could either get out of here or Tang Cheng would have to use force. Yang Haran was surprised. What was Tang Cheng talking about? What did he mean by daughter-in-law? Tang Cheng pulled Yining aside and told her she shouldn't get involved with this guy. They should go somewhere else and wait for Lin Luo. The girl agreed. Yang Haran kept asking questions. When had Yining managed to become Tang Cheng's daughter-in-law? Tang Cheng replied meaningfully that Yang Haran had no way of knowing how close the girl was to Lin Luo. It was obvious that she was his daughter-in-law. Yining added, if Yang Haran kept yelling, he shouldn't blame her later for the measures she would take. Yang Haran remarked that Lin Luo was just a D-rank loser. However, the girl got angry. Is that really true? Haran added that Lin Luo was just a D-rank healer. How could he possibly compare to him? And how could a C-rank weakling look down on him? Yining drew her magic sword, pressed it against Haran's throat, and cursed at him harshly. Tang Cheng asked if Haran really thought the guy who had led them to the 26th floor was a loser. Young Haran looked at the rankings and shouted that it was impossible. How could Lin Luo have led them there and even made it up to the 27th floor all by himself? Those present began to wonder what had happened in the tower. How had a healer managed to climb so high? What skills does he have to compete with an S-rank player? After all, healers usually only know how to heal while under the protection of a team. The leader told Yang Haran to follow him. The deputy chief of the city guard wants to see him. The player looked at the people present and thought that he had only ever seen them on TV. None of them were respected figures. What did they want from him? The leader told the apprentice not to be nervous. They needed to get some information from him. Had Yang Haran noticed any anomalies in the tower, such as poisonous fog or something else? The young man replied that there had been one oddity. The king of the Hellhounds had suddenly awakened. However, they had seriously wounded him, and he had fled back into the lava lake. He hadn't seen any poisonous fog. One of the elders stated that no viruses had been detected. In that case, there was no plague in the tower to begin with. Are there really traitors there? The guard reported that the Black Plague had suddenly stopped on the 26th floor and had not spread any higher. In addition, the teams led by Dongfan Xi and Chen Ping'an, as well as one other participant, had reached the 27th floor. The leader asked what this participant's name was and what his profession was. The guard reported that his name was Lin Luo and he was a D-rank healer. Those present were surprised. How could a healer have made it to the 27th floor? Even experienced healers can't do that without a strong player by their side. Someone pointed out that Lin Luo was on the same team as Li and Yining, but even she wouldn't have been able to help him get that high. Yang Haoran reported that this wasn't the only issue. Lin Luo's team also included a C-rank knight. They certainly wouldn't have been able to reach the 20th floor on their own. Lin Luo was cheating, and something needed to be done about it. The chairman thought that the trial tower was a miracle sent from above. Even if someone wins unfairly, the most one can do is prepare a few items for fighting monsters. However, that isn't enough to explain a healer's achievements. The chairman asked what his colleagues thought about this. The instructor suggested that Yining might have some special abilities, but it was too early to draw conclusions. The director said they needed to thoroughly investigate this Lin Luo. Lian Yining approached Aunt Kiyoshi and asked if she had called her. The woman asked, "Is the Black Plague Lin Luo's ability?" Yining grew alarmed. How did her aunt find out about this? Kiyoshi replied that she had figured it out. After all the participants from the 19th to the 25th floors had been poisoned, yet Yining's team had remained unharmed. Furthermore, Lin Luo had single-handedly wiped out the secret realm. Everything points to him. The woman added that, although most people were currently in a state of confusion due to the sudden outbreak of the virus, once an investigation was conducted, they would still find out who was responsible. Many students came from influential families and will receive lower than expected grades due to the virus attack. If the public finds out about this, revenge is inevitable. Yining was frightened. What should they do? They couldn't let anything happen to Lin Luo. Did her aunt have a plan for this? Kiyoshi replied that she did have a plan, but her niece needed to do something. Her aunt added that Yining simply had to carry it out. The girl asked if they should tell her father or anyone else about this. Kiyoshi replied that they couldn't do that. Her brother would stop them if he found out. Yining said she understood everything and would do anything for Lin Luo. The protagonist found himself surrounded by bloodthirsty monsters. Lin Luo thought that this pack of monsters was having a good time. Sexual desire is truly a powerful force. Our hero saw the king of the Hellhounds and wondered why he wasn't sleeping and had suddenly appeared. The monster looked wounded. Someone must have parried his attack, and the king had fled back into the lava lake. Now he was out for revenge. Lin Luo told the monster that it had picked the wrong opponent. He'd be happy to have a little chat with the beaten-up monster, but he couldn't guarantee anything. Our hero declared that magic should not be used against him. The guy activated the Alzheimer's disease ability. This ability can cause the target to forget or confuse its skills. Under certain circumstances, it can cause a backfire. Lin Luo decided to destroy this monster while it was still weak. He decided to give the monster one more little gift. This gift was painful, intended specifically for the boss. The boss screamed in pain. The protagonist thought something wasn't right here. Why was the boss flying into a rage? Lin Luo said the boss was just pretending to be angry. In reality, he was running away, but that was really underhanded. The hunter couldn't believe he'd been tricked by some dog. Confusion. This skill can cause the target to become practically unhinged and unconsciously attack any nearby targets. Lin Luo defeated the King of the Hellhounds and earned experience points. His level has been raised to 31. The player received a magic crystal and the flaming blade equipment. Magic crystal, the life essence of high-level monsters and bosses with area of effect abilities. It can be used as a consumable item. Flame Reflector is a bronze-level skill book available only to mages of a certain level. It allows the user to use their mana to summon a shield of flame around themselves. Flaming Blade, enemies attacked with this weapon will be burned by fiery poison. Lin Luo said there were a lot of good items here. Could he really have been the first to defeat this boss? It's hard to kill a monster that's retreating. The protagonist realized that in any case there were only 2 hours left until the end of the exam. He needed to reach the 30th floor and complete the mission to change his profession. The woman said that the young girl Li Mei had disappeared after leaving the Tower of Trials. They hadn't been able to find her. Morang Shuen was surprised. Could it be that Mei was avoiding her? She turned out not to be a good friend, but just an empty-headed girl. Shuen said that her parents must be removed from their positions and the family's financial resources cut off. They must leave this city in 3 days. The woman replied that everything would be carried out. The assistant reported that she had sorted out the situation in the Tower of Trials and would now send all the information. Shuen replied that this wasn't necessary. Dongfan Xi and Chen Pinggan should be the top priority. There was nothing else to look at there. The assistant reported that Chen Pinggan and the others had left the tower on the 28th floor. Currently, D-rank healer Lin Luo is also on that floor. Shuen was surprised. How could this have happened? The girl added that she remembered this guy. He was on Yining's team. Judging by the timing, this poisonous mist could have been one of his abilities. Shuen thought that she and Yining didn't know each other very well. They were just acquaintances. Lin Luo has great potential. Maybe that's why Yining likes him. The assistant asked, "Does the lady really think Lin Luo is a strong rival?" Shuen replied, "If it's just a small cloud of mist containing viruses, then it's not that much of a threat. Viruses are limited in size and concentration in space. It's difficult for them to penetrate the outside world. However, if this guy has more complex abilities, then it's worth worrying about. Even if he's just a D-rank healer." The hunters near the tower were discussing the healer who had reached the 28th floor all by himself. He might have used special items to cheat. Yining heard these words and said it was nonsense. Lin Luo hadn't cheated anyone. Tang Cheng declared that there was no point in explaining anything here. They wouldn't be able to accept the reality. Kiyoshi remarked that at this rate, Lin Luo would not only break the city record, but could even surpass the students of the Imperial College and become the national champion. Yining asked her on, "Are the students at the Imperial College strong?" The answer was yes. In the Imperial capital, the record stood at 29 floors. The man who set the record is a very famous figure. His name is Zheng Meizhen, and he is a necromancer. However, as a result of a tragic incident, his family was practically wiped out. The surviving family members became servants in other clans. Yining said that the name sounded familiar. Did her aunt know him? Kiyoshi replied that it was all in the past now and not worth paying attention to. With Lin Luo's potential, there's a real chance of winning the Wonder of the World award. The students were surprised, and their aunt asked if they really hadn't heard of the Wonder of the World award. The winner would receive this award after the exam was over. Mentor Li Yu approached the students and said she couldn't believe it. Had those two really reached the 26th floor? The woman said there was one thing the students needed to know. A huge number of people were interested in them. She had been contacted by the Department of Education, the Professional Union, the City Council, and even several influential families. From now on, they must exercise caution. Tang Cheng told the mentor not to worry. Lin Luo had explained everything to them. He said they could count on him. The Tower of Trials, 28th floor, a level 40 harpy, a level 42 bloodthirsty willow. Dongfan Xi couldn't handle the monsters. Right now, he was trying to catch his breath and stabilize his condition. The hunter hadn't expected the monsters on this floor to be so difficult to deal with. His dragon had nearly been destroyed. Did he really need to stay here? Dongfan is still far from his goal. He has vowed to surpass Zheng Meizhen and prove to the whole world that his family is number one. Just a little further, and he'll reach the Ice Toad's territory. Beyond that, he'll be able to see the entrance to the next level. A harpy spotted the hunter and prepared to attack. However, Dongfan noticed that the monsters had turned away and were no longer interested in him. Could they have found someone else? The hunter thought that was impossible. He was supposed to be the only one on the 28th floor. Dongfan peeked out from behind a small hill and saw that the harpies and the bloodthirsty willows were fighting each other. However, their battle looked somehow off. The harpies were bound by willow twigs around their arms and legs. Dongfan Xi thought if you looked closely, it didn't seem like a fight at all, but rather a group perversion. Among the monsters, the young man spotted another exam participant. Could it be that this whole thing was his doing? Lin Luo had said that intergender relationships were wonderful. However, interspecies ones were even better. He'd never seen animals and plants interact like this before. The sexual attraction skill is truly terrifying. The protagonist thought, if this were a normal day, he could earn a huge amount of experience while the monsters were busy with each other. But there's no time now, he needs to hurry to the next floor. Dongfan, looking at our hero, thought, what is his profession? He looks like a healer. However, healers don't possess such abilities or control. Perhaps he has a hidden profession that was previously unknown. He cannot be allowed to go any further. Dongfan Xi said that his dragon must pay the price, no matter what it takes. The hunter told the dragon that he alone must be the victor. A level 43 icy poisonous toad. These monsters were present throughout the entire frozen territory. Lin Luo had heard that this lake had originally been an ordinary one, but it had turned into a frozen lake due to a large concentration of icy poisonous toads. The temperature in the depths of the lake could reach 100 degrees below zero. If you entered it too quickly, you could freeze to death. The protagonist thought the journey would take more than an hour, but he had little time left. He would have to figure out how to deal with this. Our hero learned the skill Penicillin Defense Against Viruses. This skill passively absorbs any elemental power near the player's body. The accumulated antibodies can be actively released to form a shield with a shock-absorbing effect. Antibodies resistant to cold were generated. The protagonist was thrilled. A single passive skill had multiple effects. The cold was no longer such a nuisance. Our hero declared that at this rate, he would be able to traverse not only icy terrain, but even a magma lake, an acid sea, and the river Styx. However, the most important thing right now was to reach the next floor. Dongfan Xi couldn't figure out what was wrong with this guy. He had to use the flaming stones he'd prepared in advance to keep from freezing. Yet this healer walked right in as if the cold posed no danger to him. The hunter gave the dragon an elixir and said that the cold no longer frightened him. Now he would be able to double his strength by igniting his blood. The young man promised the dragon he would compensate for any losses caused by side effects. But later, for now they needed to destroy their opponent. There could only be one winner here. Lin Luo saw the dragon and wondered where it had come from. Wasn't this place teeming with icy, poisonous toads? Our hero realized it was a dragon cub and recalled that one of the top exam candidates had a pet dragon. The protagonist was puzzled. Why was this guy attacking him from behind? After all, he hadn't done anything wrong. Lin Luo summoned his lizard warriors and sent them into the attack. He knew the lizard warriors were no match for this dragon, but it was enough to hold it back. The skin explosion skill was activated. The protagonist realized he hadn't dealt much damage. The dragon's defense was definitely top-notch. Since the dragon had appeared here, its owner must be somewhere nearby. But where was he hiding? Lin Luo decided to use his pet to track down its owner. The dragon was attacked. The dragon returned to Dongfan. The young man wondered why the beast had ended up here. Dongfan told the dragon to pull itself together and not let its guard down. What on earth was he planning to do? The hunter realized he'd been discovered. His opponent had acted treacherously, he'd have to fight him. Lin Luo thought it would take the dragon a little time to recover. The dragon's defenses were too strong. However, Dongfan didn't have such defenses. Dongfan was outraged. How dare this healer threaten him? How dare he even try to fight him in close combat? Going up to the 28th floor was the biggest mistake of this weakling's life. The hunter attacked the healer and said that there could only be one winner here, and it would definitely be him, Dongfan Xi. The attacker activated the yellow flash strike skill. Lin Luo was knocked far to the side and fell into a snowdrift. Dongfan said he didn't care about his opponent's hidden profession. It was no match for his dragon rider profession. Lin Luo suddenly appeared behind his opponent and asked what he thought of his dragon. Dongfan saw the dragon lying on its back and became furious. What had that scoundrel done to his beast? The protagonist wondered how Dongfan would be screaming right now if his tongue had been ripped out. Dongfan said he shouldn't get too cocky, since this guy had merely taken advantage of his serious injury. Tomorrow in the individual competition, this healer would be torn to pieces. Lin Luo thought, not only did this guy use the emergency return to escape, but he's also trying to act cool. Is there really nothing that embarrasses him? Our hero remembered that the most important thing for him right now was the class change mission. The host announced that another contestant had left the Tower of Trials. 2 people remained inside. Which one of them had just left the tower? The players were shouting that the D-rank healer turned out to be a fraud. How could he possibly compare to the Dragon Rider? It was now clear that poisonous smoke might be one of Lin Luo's skills. Many players began claiming that the Black Plague had caused them excruciating pain. The only one who should be eliminated now is Lin Luo. We need to get ready and beat this guy unconscious. However, everyone saw that the Dragon Rider Dongfan Xi had emerged from the tower. The hunter wondered why he was surrounded. Could it be that someone wanted to fight? The disciples asked why Dongfan Xi had come out first, but no one dared to fight him. One of the disciples asked what had happened to Master Dongfan's pet. The hunter turned around and asked in surprise, "Why does the dragon look like that?" The dragon couldn't hold it in and started having a bout of diarrhea. Everyone present shouted that it was simply unbearable. Could a dragon really stink that badly? They're definitely going to throw up now. Dongfan realized that Lin Luo had done something to his dragon. Dongfan's home. The dwelling is located in a huge cave. The founder of the Dongfan clan said that, judging by the time, there shouldn't be any other candidates in the tower besides Xi. After all, for this guy, taking first place in the competition isn't such a difficult task. Dai Zong, the head of the Dongfan family, noticed that there was another participant on the 28th floor, a D-rank healer. The clan founder said that this healer must be using secret techniques, but even so, he wouldn't be a match for Xi. The founder added that Dai Zong was merely an A-rank professional. The family's future would be in Xi's hands. This young man had greater potential. Dai Zong received a notification on his smartwatch that Xi had left the tower before the healer. His dragon was feeling unwell due to a bout of diarrhea. What's more, everyone around him was affected as well. Everyone present was overwhelmed by the dragon's foul stench. The clan founder was outraged. A level 43 icy demonic toad. It possesses icy poison and is tainted by an otherworldly aura, making it dangerous. After attacking, it can self-destruct. Lin Luo, peering out from behind an icy rock, activated the skin explosion skill. The toad let out a loud screech and began to grow in size. The monster tried to resist the hunter's skill, but the battle was uneven. Lin Luo said that the toad's self-destruct mode wouldn't work. He wouldn't let that happen. Our hero used the Alzheimer's disease ability. When this ability is used, the target forgets or confuses its own skills. After defeating the ice toad, the protagonist gained 14,000 experience points. The young man realized he was lucky to have stopped the toad in time. He didn't know how powerful the self-destruction ability was, but it could have caused a lot of trouble. An ice poison bead dropped from the defeated monster. It is one of the treasures of the heavens, created from the body of an icy poisonous toad. Eating this bead can increase one's spirit power. Lin Luo thought that getting into the Tower of Trials wasn't all that difficult. If such a bead existed, other professionals would have already taken it. Why did it end up with him? It was definitely real. The protagonist speculated that after the explosion, the toad might take the bead with it. Those capable of preventing monsters from exploding are high-level professionals. Such players quickly clear the lower levels. However, low-ranking professionals have no way to defend themselves against the icy poisonous toad, let alone its self-destruction, so they have no chance of getting that bead. Lin Luo thought, if that's really the case, then it's an unexplored treasure. That means it's worth a try. Our hero tracked down another monster and activated the skin explosion skill again. The icy poison toad was destroyed, and he earned experience points this time. No bead dropped, only experience points. The young man's hunch had been correct. The key to the icy poison bead was preventing the toad's self-destruction. The protagonist decided to deal with the toads as quickly as possible. Lin Luo prevented the toads from self-destructing and collected beads from them. The sounds of battle attracted even more toads. Lin Luo didn't mind. Our hero had implanted a large number of plague viruses into the icy poisonous toads that were unable to self-destruct and had perished. Now there were vast quantities of them in the air. Lin Luo believed he had used this ability at the most opportune moment. The hunter destroyed an icy poisonous toad and earned experience points. He reached level 36. Lin Luo decided he was tired. It had taken more effort than he'd anticipated. Our hero was satisfied as the haul was generous, 248 ice poison beads. Now he could put them to use. Using a bead, Lin Luo increased his spirit strength. The young man thought this was excellent. The protagonist doubled his spirit strength compared to before. It usually takes at least several dozen levels to achieve such an effect. The demonized rune was activated. This led to the emergence of new as yet unexplored effects. The young man determined that the first effect could increase attribute values by 10 and was capable of transforming the user into a monster. The third effect was incredibly powerful. He no longer needed to worry about mana consumption in the future. Lin Luo looked up and saw the body of a huge monster gliding smoothly overhead. It was the king of icy poisonous toads, a 45th level demonic creature. The king possessed immense power. Lin Luo decided that this monster had appeared just in time. He could test his new powers. The king of the icy poisonous toads landed on the ground, and smaller monsters began to approach him. Lin Luo thought that the area was already teeming with his plague virus. Even if he did nothing, this boss would die anyway. However, it was unclear how long that would take. The protagonist chose a convenient position and activated the skin explosion skill. The black plague virus had been injected into the king of the icy poisonous toads. The healer said the monster could now enjoy a bout of diarrhea. The king really couldn't hold it in, and a bout of diarrhea overcame him. Now stench and filth reigned everywhere within the monster's radius of effect. Lin Luo said that this was his new combo with a limited number of hits, capable of taking down even bosses. Skin Burst was activated again. However, the monster remained unharmed. The protagonist realized that the king of poisonous ice toads was extremely powerful. He had even blocked Skin Explosion. After using the skill again, the result was the same. The monster remained unharmed. Our hero landed his next strike on the king's eyes. Now the monster would be unable to use its ability again. Lin Luo said that now it was his turn to take decisive action. The monster was in for a rough time. The protagonist summoned the lizard monsters and ordered them to attack the king of the poisonous ice toads. To avoid self-destruction mode, the Alzheimer's disease skill was activated. The king of the icy poisonous toads was destroyed, and experience points were awarded. The player received the Ice King's Iron, the Ice King's Bead, 5 skill points, the Ice King's Whip, and the skill book Frozen Light. The guy was thrilled. He'd gotten a huge haul. This kind of thing happens only once in a lifetime, and not to everyone. The Frozen Light skill book is the ability that blocks Skin Explosion. He needs to study everything thoroughly. A new base propagation ability was acquired. This is a disease in the real world, and it's incurable. Lin Luo decided that this ability could be very useful if used correctly. The Ice King's Bead is also impressive. It not only boosts spirit power, but also grants a superpower. A superpower is something possessed only by legendary professionals. Lin Luo consumed the Ice King's Bead. His spirit power increased, and the bone-piercing ability was awakened. The Adrenaline Rush ability also appeared. Adrenaline Rush accelerates breathing, heart rate, and blood circulation. Reaction speed and agility increase significantly. The degree of enhancement depends on one's spirit power. Lin Luo thought that his spirit power was already quite high. That meant it could be boosted to the point where he would have no fear of close combat. A toxicologist carefully examined Dongfan Xi's body for signs of infection. The disciples couldn't believe that this young man had been defeated by his own dragon. As expected, no one could compete with a dragon. Dongfan couldn't wait for the individual performances to begin so he could destroy and tear that good-for-nothing healer to pieces. Someone in the audience noticed that the healer had already reached the 29th floor. How did the healer manage to do that? Could it be that some legendary professional helped him? Tang Chung declared that Lin Luo was truly amazing. At the moment, he was the strongest guy in the city. Yining announced that Zheng Meisen's record had officially been broken. The chairman said it was unbelievable. The healer turned out to be the real dragon. This young man's future is limitless. No one would have thought that one of the contestants would defeat the arrogant Dongfan family. We must take good care of this young man. Morang Shuen noticed that, aside from the poisonous mist, he truly possessed other abilities as well. Otherwise, he would never have been able to reach this point. Now he had become #1 in the country. Shuen expressed her conviction that they needed to change their plans regarding this young man. It was unacceptable for the miracle of light to fall into his hands. The Tower of Trials, the 30th floor, flying monsters were everywhere. Lin Luo decided he'd spent too much time on the ice toads, so he had to do everything he could to reach the 29th floor faster. Fortunately, the monsters on this floor were wild and aggressive. They'd be too busy fighting each other due to their confusion. The battle would unfold rapidly and fiercely, eventually turning into a massive brawl. He had to seize the moment to slip toward the exit and make a clean getaway. Our hero realized he didn't have much time. He needed to get to the boss immediately. Bats are the most common monsters on the 30th floor. He could use them. Drowning Bat, a level 45 demonic creature. Possesses a thirst for blood, a sonic attack, and can spread the plague. Extremely bloodthirsty and ferocious. Lin Luo, as always in such situations, activated the skin explosion skill. The nearby monsters were neutralized. The demonization skill was used. After that, bats began to appear from all directions. The concentration of monsters increased significantly. Time was running out. He needed to locate the alien boss. A new type of monster appeared, the Blood Slave. This demonic creature possesses unlimited power and is prone to phantom attacks. The Blood Slave is trapped in this world alongside its master and guards him. There were also blood servants among the monsters. They possessed a blood-fueled fighting spirit, could attack with illusions, and had a blood shield. 2 blood servants stood before the protagonist. These are elite monsters guarding the bosses, so the boss is currently in the coffin. There's no time to hesitate. He must start the fight. Our hero activated the confusion skill. The monsters put up a fight. Lin Luo figured that the longer they fought, the better it would be for him. In the end, the guards were destroyed. The boss was still asleep, and this was a perfect opportunity. The boss was the Fallen Baron, a level 50 monster. He was in a state of great power and magic. Lin Luo landed several blows on the monster, then activated the skin explosion skill. The protagonist was surprised. His attack resulted in instant destruction. But surely the boss couldn't die that easily? At that moment, something unexpected happened. Blood began to flow back into the boss's body. It became clear that he couldn't be defeated by conventional means. In response, the monster activated a sonic attack. Lin Luo leaped high into the air to brace himself and prepare for a counterattack. To act effectively, our hero was forced to use the adrenaline rush skill. The young man felt that he was now so fast he couldn't even control himself. It felt as if his body was brimming with energy. Using the cloning skill, he could create 2 blood shadow clones, each possessing half the power of the original body. Lin Luo thought his pursuers were too slow. A magic-resistant shield was activated. Lin Luo told the boss that now was the time for his attack. The protagonist spun in a whirlwind of furious attacks. The boss saw only a blur around him. The monster couldn't tell from which direction the attack would come. The monster swiveled its head frantically from side to side, trying to anticipate its opponent's next move. As a result, the unification skill was activated. To our hero, the boss seemed virtually invulnerable. As long as there was blood, the boss could regenerate an unlimited number of times. The young man realized that the shadow bodies were made of blood. In that case, he could try out a new skill. Thanks to this skill, the blood clones were attacked and took damage. Lin Luo decided that this was brilliant. So vampires were afraid of him. Not only was the new skill great, but so was the blood-clotting effect that came with it. Although these clones were indestructible, their bodies were made of blood. The boss closed in to a dangerous distance and prepared for a ferocious attack. Lin Luo counterattacked, but the boss managed to dodge. At one point, the boss even sacrificed a body part to prevent further spread. So it possesses intelligence. However, the protagonist wondered how much longer it would be able to detach various body parts. Lin Luo thought if he tried to destroy the boss now, it would immediately turn itself into blood and come back to life. However, our hero also has a blood-related ability. Would the boss's ability work this time if he set its blood on fire? Our hero found himself face-to-face with the boss. Now there was no way to avoid this moment. The Fallen Baron boss was defeated and experience points were awarded. He reached level 40 and his stats increased. The player received 10 regular skill points and 1 golden skill point. The protagonist said that adrenaline rush gives him some decent capabilities in close combat, but the side effects are very strong. The gold skill point proved to be very valuable. The maximum skill level can only be raised to level 7. If you need to increase a skill's level, you must use gold skill points. In addition, abilities enhanced with gold skill points can gain additional effects. In the battle against the Fallen Baron, this shield saved the protagonist's life. Skill points were spent. The player used a golden skill point to raise the level of penicillin virus defense to level 8 and activate the skill's special effects. Special effects: the penicillin elf obtained from the skill possesses self-awareness and can amplify all effects of penicillin protection against viruses. It can also learn its master's mutation skills and will become his most loyal companion. Lin Luo thought this was indeed a powerful helper. After all, it could learn mutation skills. The protagonist decided to call this elf Little Greenie. Lin Luo obtained a vampire core. It is created from a vampire's life force and magic and serves as a substitute for the heart. Unless the core is destroyed, the vampire will never die. The bloodline transformation item, which draws on the vampire's essence, can transform a professional's body into that of a half-vampire once used. The vampire's core is its heart. It can be used to complete a class change mission. This essence is even rarer than golden skill points. In this world, members of all professions can become half-human, half-alien by using a lineage item. By gaining additional attributes, players can learn additional alien skills and switch to special alien professions. Vampires' weaknesses are all too obvious. Lin Luo decided to keep something for himself. The player obtained the first Embrace skill book. They also received the Blood Wings and Vampire's Eye equipment. Lin Luo said this was excellent, as these two items complemented each other. They increased damage absorption and spell penetration. This skill seems very powerful, but only vampires can learn it. It's not worth changing your body just for this. Lin Luo opened his skill window and realized he didn't meet the requirements anyway, so he wouldn't be able to learn it. Our hero didn't have a vampire clan lineage. Skill learned, level 1 T-virus infection. Our hero was surprised. Had he really learned a new skill? Does this mean that the ability to alter skills can transform any ability without any restrictions? Could this terrifying T-virus really destroy the world and turn countless people into zombies? Even more terrifying is that this world is full of professionals and monsters. Lin Luo thought if professionals or monsters turned into zombies, the consequences would be too terrifying to even imagine. The skill's introduction only mentions infection, but says nothing about the ability to control infected bodies. This skill is far too terrifying. I need to find a way to fight the T-virus or control it. I should try not to use it. There were no more than 5 minutes left, but he still had to complete the profession change mission. Lin Luo successfully changed his profession to the hidden profession Evil Doctor. He received skill points as a reward. The player has mastered the single skill Irresponsible Surgery and has also received the Irresponsible Scalpel. Our hero declared that from this moment on, he is no longer a healer, but an evil doctor. He is the most evil and unprofessional doctor in history. Life is just a game in his hands, and it's entirely up to him what to do with it. The onlookers wondered why the healer hadn't come out yet. After all, time had already run out. Perhaps he was stuck and couldn't get out. Besides, monsters of this level aren't easy to deal with. The host announced that there were 2 minutes left until the end of the exam. It's hard to believe that a D-rank healer would become the top high school student. This proves once again that there are no weak professionals, only weak people. According to new information received from the school, Lin Luo's journey as a student was fraught with difficulties. This hardworking and diligent young man consistently earns some of the highest grades in every class. He is a role model. Tang Cheng was surprised. Could they really be talking about Lin Luo? This guy never took his study seriously. The guild leader was informed that the investigation revealed Lin Luo's father had died young, and his mother was merely a navigator with no notable background. The leader said they needed to find a way to recruit him. A guard reported to the leader that 7 families are currently secretly plotting against Lin Luo. A huge number of candidates infected with the Black Plague are also targeting him. The school director said these families had nothing to worry about. They were always trying to recruit geniuses. The infected participants were simply causing unnecessary commotion. Only by going through trials and tribulations would they be able to begin their journey. A guard reported that there was something else. Several fallen ones. The headmaster expressed concern. The old man thought that geniuses like Dongfan Xi came from prominent families. They were protected by powerful people, so they had nothing to worry about. However, Lin Luo is just an ordinary guy who stands out from the crowd. The consequences of him becoming a target of the fallen are simply unimaginable. The leader instructed the guard to take 2 guards to protect Lin Luo. Word came that Lin Luo had finally left the tower. Our hero stepped down to the ground. The host announced that the winner who took first place in the team challenge was D-rank healer Lin Luo. The students who had been harmed by him began to voice their discontent and threaten him with retribution. Yining couldn't contain her emotions and rushed toward our hero. The girl ran up and hugged him. It didn't end there. Yining took advantage of Lin Luo's confusion and kissed him on the lips. Those present couldn't believe that the Lin family was backing Lin Luo. But in that case, it's a completely different story if such an influential family is supporting this guy. The girl savored the kiss and let go of him. Afterwards, she blushed with embarrassment. The young people stood side by side, their eyes cast downward. They didn't look at each other. Yining was the first to compose herself and said it didn't matter. She added that she was going home. Lin Luo needed to rest too. The friends were heading home that evening. Tang Cheng asked how Lin Luo had reacted to the kiss. What was Yining like to kiss? The guy added that he hadn't known their classmate was so bold. She had always seemed quite conservative. Lin Luo replied that she had done it to protect him and help him get rid of some problems. An unknown man stood in the young people's path. He asked if Lin Luo could really detect him. However, that wasn't enough. The stranger said he represented the Lian family. The head of the family had asked him to deliver a message. There was no need to meet with Yining. They couldn't be friends. The protagonist asked what would happen if he insisted on this friendship. The bystanders decided that Lin Luo might be in trouble. Should they help him? They decided not to intervene. At that moment, a huge dark spot appeared above the Lian family representative. It didn't bode well. The onlookers wondered, could this be the Lord of the Dark Mist? And had he decided to act on his own? He must have a special item that channels the Dark Mist Lord's power, allowing him to temporarily isolate the area. The deputy mayor had asked them to protect this young man, but it seemed he had been captured right before their eyes. The guards estimated that the man from the Lian family would remain with these young people within the sphere for about 5 minutes. During this time, they could attack the dark mist with all their might to break through this barrier as quickly as possible. Tang Cheng was surprised. What kind of cursed place is this? A representative of the Lian family explained that it was the dark mist. It was the ability of the leader of the fallen, the Lord of the Dark Mist. Tang Cheng said he'd heard of this Lord of the Dark Mist. 100 years ago, he had been a legendary level professional, the best among the fallen, but why had he set his sights on them? The Lian family representative said that, for Yining's sake, he would take care of this. The two of them should follow him to a weak spot in the mist. A woman appeared among the attackers. She asked, "Do these guys really still want to escape?" She had even brought the dark mist root, which had been specially created by the Lord. She couldn't let them go. The Lian family representative cursed viciously at the fallen ones. The woman said that a gold-level fighter would hardly be able to handle them. She ordered the 13th warrior to toy with this guy. The 13th warrior and the gold-level fighter faced off. Xiao Man said she'd had to go to great lengths to find Lin Luo. Wouldn't the young man like to join her in the night watch? They had an undeniable advantage. Tang Cheng warned the fallen not to approach him, or he would be forced to take action. Lin Luo asked what night watch meant. Was it an organization of the fallen? Xiaomin said he had misunderstood her. The fallen was a derogatory term. It was coined to make them outcasts. The woman added that they are in fact true saviors. To sustain life in this world and forge a new future, they believe in the evil god and accept him. For this reason, they cannot be fallen. Lin Luo asked for clarification. Why was he specifically needed? The woman replied that among the 13 masters of the Night Watch, there is an old man with poisonous abilities. He was impressed by the boy's control ability, the poisonous mist. He would like to take this boy as his disciple. The protagonist said he couldn't join this organization. Xiaoman declared that the boy had no choice. She ordered the 27th ghost to capture the young man. The ghost said that as soon as they captured him, Old Master Gu would find a way to bring him to his knees and make him his disciple. An order was issued to the ghosts of the underworld to lock up this hunter. Lin Luo wondered what the next spell to summon the ghosts of the underworld would be. The protagonist noted that they shouldn't underestimate him, otherwise they would deeply regret it. A unique skill was activated, and the ghost was immediately defeated. Xiaoman expressed her surprise. The ghost continued to scream in pain and disorientation. The woman wondered, could this really be a backfire spell? They weren't prepared for this. The guy had acted dishonorably. They couldn't count on the ghosts for help. Xiaoman realized that now she would have to do everything on her own. Tang Cheng saw the monsters approaching attack and shouted that they needed to retreat and change their position. Xiao Man wondered how a healer dared to engage in close combat. She activated the skill Caressing Death. This time, the protagonist was unable to defeat his opponent and was deactivated. Cries of despair burst from his chest. Xiaoman, on the other hand, laughed and said that those who fought her faced an inevitable fate. However, it was the ghost who ended up being deactivated. He asked why Ms. Xiaoman had struck him. The woman realized that the hunter had outwitted her and expressed her indignation to him. Lin Luo said that this spell was a form of mind manipulation by a mage, or perhaps the control skills of a dark priest. Xiaoman noticed that this guy wasn't a D-rank healer at all. Worse still, by using his skill, this guy was deliberately making a feint. Otherwise, how could she have made such an easy mistake? Xiao Man asked indignantly how this scoundrel dared to destroy her bodyguard. Now she wouldn't spare him. The woman summoned the Xuan Kong forest realm. Tang Cheng asked the protagonist what they should do now. This skill had a wide range of applications. If they just ran away, they'd quickly run out of steam. Lin Luo assured him that their opponent would die faster. Xiaomin wondered where the skill that this guy had used earlier had gone. Suddenly, the woman realized that a virus had infected her body, but she had already moved far enough away from that guy. Xiaoman couldn't help herself. Her mind went blank, her legs gave way, and she began to fall. Tang Cheng said he didn't understand. Could she really be defeated? Lin Luo replied that just like Tang Cheng, she was baffled by her own demise. The protagonist asked what was happening on the other side during the battle. Lin Luo declared that the Fallen were the main enemy here. They needed to help the gold rank warrior. The representative of the Lian family demanded that the ghost not get distracted during their battle because it was outrageous. The ghost objected, saying he hadn't even thought of getting distracted. There was no need to read into their relationship. The gold rank warrior was indignant that the ghost was denying the obvious. The representative of the Lian family looked at the ghost and wondered what kind of posture that was. He asked how his opponent was feeling. The ghost replied that he didn't understand what was happening to him either. Why had his stomach suddenly started hurting so badly, as if it had been filled with a huge amount of liquid? The ghost suddenly turned around and said it was time for him to go. He really needed to use the restroom. The representative of the Lian family shouted that the ghost shouldn't even think about running away. That's not how gentlemen behave. Suddenly, the ghost was struck by a bout of diarrhea. The opponent turned away and said that this was the price he paid for being underestimated. Tang Cheng saw the ghost's condition and assumed that his friend had already taken care of everything. The gold rank warrior thought that this woman was the strongest among the trio of fallen ones. Yet for some reason, she had been killed by a student. The 13th warrior's behavior was also strange. The warrior asked Lin Luo what his profession was. The protagonist replied that he was merely a healer. The guards noticed that the danger to their charge had not yet passed. However, the area of dark mist was dissipating. Could Lin Luo really have died so quickly? All they could do now was avenge him. They decided that their first priority was to identify everyone present. Poisonous Thorns, Ghost of the Underworld, Wild Evil Wolf, all these well-known fallen had already been destroyed. Lin Luo asked the guards who had appeared who they were. The young men presented their badges and said they were law enforcers. They'd been ordered to protect this guy. Now they wanted to know what had happened in the Dark Mist region. The gold rank warrior told the two of them to get lost. He was leaving too since he still had business to attend to. The law keepers warned that they would continue to carry out their duties and protect this guy. He'd be fine now. So what really happened? Lin Luo replied that they were obligated to protect the Lian family. If it weren't for this family, they certainly wouldn't have survived. The law keepers said that in that case the disciples could go, but they shouldn't stick their necks out unnecessarily. They also needed to take precautions. The fallen are most active at this time. One of the guardians said that this guy had clearly lied to them. Was there any point in questioning him further? Another guardian replied that they wouldn't get any more information out of him. Besides, they had to protect him. The guardian noted that Xiaoman was a man of honor among the Night Watch. That meant an epic-class fallen one had been traveling with this guy. The guardians realized there was nothing more they could do and decided to report the incident to the deputy city guard. Tang Cheng told his friend that this was his first time meeting a guardian of the law. These people look very majestic. Lin Luo thought that these guards were professionals belonging to the Dragon Kingdom. They are stationed in almost every city, and their power is immense. Their purpose is not only to protect, but also to restrict. The guards love freedom and rely on themselves or their guilds when making decisions. However, law-abiding citizens are a hindrance. That's why conflicts often arise between them. Many are dissatisfied with them. Tang Cheng said that the old man had been chasing Lin Luo. What should they do now? The protagonist reminded them that they were currently in the city, not in the desert. There was nothing to worry about. Our hero added that only small-time crooks could sneak in here, and they wouldn't cause much trouble. As for that old man, there's no way they'd let him through. The guards aren't patrolling here for nothing. Tang Cheng noted that the Lian family's interest in Lin Luo wasn't without reason. The guard reported to the deputy castle keeper that 35 people had been attacked this time. 7 had died, but all the others had been rescued. 27 of the fallen had perished. The deputy castle keeper thought that, compared to the number who had come, this figure was a drop in the bucket. All the casualties on the fallen side were great geniuses, so the loss was not significant. The guardian reported that he had a report on Lin Luo. He had been attacked by a team of fallen led by Du Xiaoman. Fortunately, the young man was alive, and all the enemies had been eliminated. The elder said he was pleased to hear that. If they managed to defeat Xiaoman, then the guardians of the law had done a good job. The guardian replied that the deputy had misunderstood him. Lin Luo had single-handedly defeated Xiaoman. The old man couldn't believe it. Could a rookie really have defeated a fallen one? And Xiaoman, no less. That woman is no pushover. The deputy guardian of the castle asked what had actually happened there. The guardian replied that Lin Luo had refused to tell them. He had also been accompanied by the recruit and a security guard from the Lian family. According to the autopsy, it was determined that Li Kai died from a blow with an axe wielded by the Lian family's guard. However, he was suffering from severe gastroenteritis, which had a massive impact on the course of the fight. In that condition, he should not have participated in the battle, so he likely fell ill during the fight. The elder speculated that Lin Luo might be capable of inducing such an illness. Furthermore, Yang Gutu was killed by Xiaoman. Given his loyalty, it is hard to doubt that this was the result of internal conflicts. It is possible that Xiaoman's mind was clouded and she killed him by mistake. A black plague virus was also detected in her body, at levels far exceeding the lethal dose. It can be assumed that their defeat and death are related to Lin Luo. The guardian added that Lin Luo is no ordinary healer. He belongs to a lineage of dark priests. The deputy guardian of the castle said that, in terms of the ability to control and weaken an enemy, it was still too early to jump to conclusions. The guardian noted that Xiaoman was a blood relative of Dudu. Now she has been destroyed by this healer. The elder said that if Dudu shows up, he'll deal with him personally. Yining told her father that Lin Luo is just a D-rank healer, but he's already achieved a lot. Plus, she likes him. Why can't her father approve of him? Mr. Lian pointed out that his daughter already has a marriage contract with the young master of the Nine Serpents Island. If word of this reaches the island, not even he would be able to withstand their wrath. Yining declared that her father couldn't ignore her choice. She didn't need anyone but Lin Luo. Kyoshi told her brother that Yining was doing exactly what she had taught her. The girl was pursuing her own happiness. Or was he hoping that a second Zheng Meisen would appear? It was announced that the unified examination would begin soon. All candidates are invited. The competition consists of 2 rounds. The first is a standard one-on-one duel. The top 16 will advance to the second round. Ring defense. The top 4 will be selected based on their power rating. Yining told Tang Chen to try not to get eliminated in the very first round. The guy replied that thanks to his friend, he was now at the top, so there wouldn't be any problems. Tang Cheng added that they had the best one, level 22. Not like his daughter-in-law. The girl blushed with embarrassment. This guy had called her daughter-in-law again. The girl noticed that Lin Luo had heard this, but he didn't say anything. That's great news. Morang Shuen approached our hero and asked if his name was Lin Luo. The young people shook hands and the girl said she was pleased to meet him. Her name is Morang Shuen. She said she wanted to invite him to join her in a new dungeon to be the first to explore it. Lin Luo wondered why him, of all people. Shuen replied that it was a level 30 dungeon. It had restrictions and was suitable for people like them. The difficulty isn't high, but the rewards are great. There's also a chance to change professions, a rare opportunity. The girl thought this might bring her closer to this guy. Shuen also believed that over time he might soften up, come to rely on her, and praise her. Maybe he'd even fall in love with her. Even if it didn't work out, they would become more than just friends. And that too could be considered an achievement. Lin Luo apologized and said he was declining. Morang Shuen hadn't expected that answer and was genuinely surprised. The protagonist replied that he had already advanced, so he wouldn't be able to enter that dungeon. As a novice who has reached level 30 and completed his second ascension, he has entered the Dark Iron Realm and become a true professional. Upon reaching level 50, one can undergo a third ascension and enter the Bronze Realm. The Silver Realm is at level 80, and the Gold Realm at level 100. To reach the Epic Realm, one must reach level 500. Shuyan thought that ascension meant he was no longer a novice and was many times stronger than her, but the exam wasn't over yet. This had never happened before. Dongfan Xi said that Lin Luo had gone too far. Not only had he forced his favorite to flee in public, but he also dared to make advances toward his fiancée. Shuen pointed out that the Morang family had never given their consent to the marriage, so he should show more respect. Dongfan confidently declared that the girl would agree, since no one but him was worthy of her. A contestant remarked that everything in the ring was for real. Lin Luo wouldn't be able to use the tricks here that he'd employed earlier in the team competition. The protagonist asked who was standing before him. Could it really be that fly who's been pestering Lian Yining all day? If so, he'd have to help the girl get rid of this nuisance. Everyone turned their attention to the list of duel participants, which had been randomly generated. The candidates were invited to enter the arena to compete. Dongfan Xi looked at Lin Luo and said that this guy had better live long enough to face him in the arena. Then he would experience pain worse than death. Yining said that Dongfan was going too far. Maybe she should go find her father? Lin Luo replied that he could handle it himself and she could trust him. The protagonist thought that this guy had first attacked him without warning in the tower and now wanted to face him head-on. In that case, he would be destroyed. The host announced that the first match would feature D-rank healer Lin Luo and B-rank heavy hammer warrior Zhang Qi. Zhang Qi accused his opponent of forcing him to leave the trial tower early. The warrior added that today he intended to take his revenge. Zhang Qi believed he was facing nothing more than a weak healer. It would take at least a few minutes for his fog to spread. That would be enough time to destroy Lin Luo. Our hero activated the acute gastroenteritis ability and told his opponent that he was standing right in front of him. Why wasn't the guy attacking? Zhang Qi dropped his hammer and shouted that he couldn't take it anymore. The warrior was immediately struck by a bout of diarrhea. The onlookers screamed that the stench was unbearable. It smelled just like the dragon Dongfan Xi. Lin Luo's skill was truly terrifying. The host announced that Zhang Qi had been defeated. Now the arena needed to be cleared as quickly as possible. Next, Lin Luo faced off against the B-rank fencer, Sword of the Wind, Yang Xiaoxiao. The fencer activated the skill Scroll of Resistance to abnormal conditions. Then Yang Xiaoxiao took some poison-neutralizing pills. The warrior said he was now ready to face off against Lin Luo. His skills wouldn't be enough. Dongfan Xi had given him all those pills so he could put up the strongest possible resistance against Lin Luo's power. The protagonist noted that this scroll was worth a small fortune, yet this guy didn't look like a member of a noble family. Where did he get the money? Apparently Yang Xiaoxiao had found a generous sponsor. However, that didn't matter now. Our hero said if the fencer had challenged him, then he would be given the opportunity to accept it. Lin Luo thought that his level was significantly higher than his opponent's, and his instant gastroenteritis skill was at level 7. The fencer could use whatever he wanted, but victory was out of the question for him. The outcome of this fight was a foregone conclusion. The result turned out to be the same, and the spectators shouted that the stench was spreading throughout the arena again. Some spectators had come prepared and remarked that gas masks would be quite useful in this situation. The arena cleaners called it a poison gas bomb. Air freshener must be used immediately. Many noted that even with his scrolls and pills, Yang Xiaoxiao couldn't cope with such a horrific technique. This move is simply repulsive and should be banned as harmful to humanity. Spectators chanted that the environment must be saved from pollution. This skill must be removed from the competition program. A guard reported to the elder that Lin Luo had caused public outrage. The Dongfan family is vehemently demanding that the use of this skill be banned. The director said they could try banning it, but will that help? After all, this guy can defeat even the fallen. It's not about the skill at all. The competition host announced, taking various factors into account, after discussion, it was decided to ban the use of the island gastroenteritis skill. The participants rejoiced. Now this healer wouldn't be able to defeat anyone without his trick. Lin Luo thought it was their own fault. If they wouldn't play nice, then they'd have to face the consequences. The host announced that Lin Luo and Yang Haran were facing off in the arena. Dongfan Xi said he had given Haran a resistance elixir and protective gear. Even if the boy couldn't defeat his opponent, he had to use all his strength. Dongfan added that serious injuries in the ring were permitted. If RN won, the Dongfan family would be indebted to him for life. An assistant asked Dongfan Xi if he really believed Yang Haran could defeat Lin Luo. Dongfan replied that this young man would pave the way for him. The contestant added that, in the end, he didn't care whether this pawn lived or died. Yang Haran said that without his disgusting skill, Lin Luo was now a nobody, just an ordinary healer. Haran added that the healer wouldn't be able to do anything to him, an A-rank magic sword master. The opponent activated the Blaze of Fury attack. The entire arena was engulfed in flames. When the flames dissipated, Lin Luo appeared safe and sound. The protagonist asked, "Is that all this magic sword master has to offer?" Haoran shouted that it wasn't over yet and used the Icy Soul Strike. This was followed by the Destruction of Ice and Fire skill. The spectators remarked that this warrior could wield at least 2 elements, which was simply amazing. He possessed incredible power. Lin Luo was merely a healer. so he couldn't possibly surpass such a master. When the smoke and flames cleared, the spectators saw the healer once again, safe and sound. But how is that possible? Our hero said that now it was Yang Haran's turn to defend himself. The protagonist locked onto his opponent and decided to use his unique ability on him. Haran felt an intense itching and tingling sensation in his lower body. What had Lin Luo done this time? The protagonist replied that this was one of his skills after all. He had several of them. Our hero added that under the influence of this skill, his opponent would feel as if he were in paradise. The syphilis flare skill, enhanced by gonorrhea, was activated. Yang Haran screamed that his body was unbearably itchy. He no longer had the strength to endure it. The audience was terrified, as Haran's entire lower body was already bleeding from scratching. What was happening to him? Yang Haran activated the Rapid Frost skill and said that his opponent wouldn't be able to defeat him with just that. Our hero wondered, if this keeps up, won't his opponent's private parts freeze? Yang Haran shouted that he would destroy this healer first, before anything like that could happen. Lin Luo pointed out that freezing only weakens the problem, but doesn't eliminate it. Besides, he could add even more. The competition host announced that Yang Haran had lost consciousness. Lin Luo had won again. The surgeon examined Haran's body and said that young people these days don't know how to control themselves. At that age, they get involved in all sorts of things, pushing their bodies to such extremes. The injured man asked the doctor if there was any hope of restoring the use of his lower body. The doctor replied that they had tried every kind of healing magic, but to no avail. The only chance to save his life was to amputate that part of his body. Haran had no choice, and the surgeon performed his medical duty. The battles in the arena continued. Dongfan and the others watched as events unfolded. At that moment, a call came in. Dongfan was informed of the incurable nature of the injury and the need for immediate surgical removal. The young man said that he would be more careful now when he faced Lin Luo. Now many participants were discussing the fact that Yang Haran had suffered an irreparable injury and had to undergo surgery. It's best not to provoke Lin Luo. Arena number 5. Morang Shuen prepared for battle. The girl said that Li Mei wouldn't be able to hide from her anyway. Did she want to say her final words? Li Mei said that what she hated most was her opponent's arrogant attitude. Shuen doesn't take anyone seriously. Today she will win and pave the way to victory for Dongfan Xi. Morang said that today she would show Li Mei what it means to be strong. She even wondered whether her opponent thought too highly of herself or too poorly of her. Li Mei shouted at Shuen to stop looking down on everyone. The exploding fireball skill was activated. Shuen dodged the attack and said it was too weak. Morang used the Holy Light of Justice skill. A bright flash illuminated everything around them. The tournament host announced that Morang Shuen had won. The girl had used a hidden S-rank profession, Angel. Li Mei told her opponent that her victory meant nothing. She would never give in, and the rivalry would continue. Morang Shuen looked her rival in the eyes and exerted mental pressure on her. Afterward, Li Mei asked her mistress to give her an order. Shuen ordered Mei to report in detail everything she knew about Dongfan Xi. She expected the report in half an hour. The girl realized that the duration of sacred light coercion control varied, depending on the difference in strength between the two sides. For the next 3 days, she would be her most loyal follower. That would be enough time to obtain the necessary information. The host announced that the top 4 rising professional newcomers had been selected. All 3 opponents were cautious about the upcoming battle. Lin Luo was surprised. Why didn't anyone want to compete against him? The participants shouted that Lin Luo's methods were too cruel and inhumane. No one wanted to fight him. All his abilities should be banned due to the extreme danger they posed. The protagonist thought this reaction was caused by the consequences Yang Haran had suffered after his last battle. Fan Yuan, an A-class forbidden spellcaster, appeared in the arena. The warrior said he was there to fight this healer. Lin Luo was surprised. Could it be that this Fan Yuan wasn't afraid of him? His opponent replied that no matter how twisted an attack might be, as long as it was blocked, there was nothing to fear. Within a distance of 10 centimeters, he was invincible. He had emptied his 5 senses and was ready to resist anything. Fan Yuan activated the skill uniting heaven and earth prison. Our hero found himself surrounded within the radius of his opponent's skill. Lin Luo felt it was difficult to move, as if he were stuck in a swamp. Apparently a control skill had been used. The protagonist said that his opponent was setting up shields and controlling them from a distance. Could he really be that afraid? Fan Yuan said that this was a combination of the 5 Qi, the 4 Cs, and the calm flow. He was a master of forbidden spells and could not be afraid of a mere healer. Insinuations are out of place here. Fan Yuan activated a thunder strike and noticed that the natural elements obeyed his command. Defense, control, and attack. 3 actions were executed simultaneously. Spectators noted that his skills were not only fast, but also possessed immense power. That's what an A-rank profession means. Now the healer will be struck by lightning. Lin Luo wondered, is his opponent pulling tricks or actually fighting? How many more abilities does he have, and when will he be done? Our hero declared that it was time for him to act. Fan Yuan activated the cold antibody defense skill. Lin Luo used the Alzheimer's disease skill. The opponent continued to defend vigorously, employing metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, all 5 elements. However, the very next moment, Fan Yuan could no longer remember. What was that 5-element spell? How could that be? Next, the protagonist used the skin explosion skill. It was a tried-and-true technique. The spectators were surprised. What was going on there? Didn't Fan Yuan have the upper hand? Why did he suddenly explode? Could this really be the healer's doing again? The protagonist wondered why the mage had fallen before he even took a step. Didn't he have any more abilities left? Fan Yuan knelt in the middle of the arena before his opponent. His strength was fading. Lin Luo wondered how many skills this guy still had left. Could they keep going? Fan Yuan thought he wasn't going to stop there. However, if he used that ability, he'd have to pay dearly. The spectators knew the mage was about to lose, but he wasn't going to accept defeat. You shouldn't mess with Lin Luo like that. The spectators speculated that Fan Yuan might face a fate worse than Yang Haran's. Why did he provoke Lin Luo? Fan Yuan raised his hand and declared that he was giving up and accepting defeat. He realized that this was just a game and that he didn't need to risk his life. After Fan Yuan's defeat, no one else dared to face Lin Luo. This allowed him to easily advance to the finals. Morang Shuen, Dongfan Xi, and Chen Pinggan passed their trials and advanced to the next round. The elder wondered just how many more tricks this young man had up his sleeve. As a result, he might very well end up being the winner. Many families are eager to get their hands on these miracles of light. What would the family heads' faces look like if a healer came along and took it all away? One of those present looked at the protagonist and thought, could this guy have taken care of his niece? The old man's actions were too delicate, so he sent him, the elder, to handle this trashy business. Dongfan Xi told the defeated mage that his family had given him tremendous support, yet Fan Yuan had repaid them with defeat. The young man replied that he had indeed tried his very best, but the healer had proven to be stronger. It had been impossible to break through his defenses in battle. Fan Yuan added that Lin Luo's level was equivalent to the 30th, and on top of that, he had completed his second transformation. Dongfan was surprised. Where had Lin Luo gained so much experience? It seemed they would have to fight him as if he were a boss. Lin Luo and his friends were returning from the competition, making their way through the city. Yining said she had tried her hardest and even pushed beyond her limits, but she still lost. The protagonist remarked that she had been magnificent and that Morang had won solely because of her profession. Lin Luo asked how Yining had even chosen her as an opponent. He thought Chen Ping'an was better than her. Yining admitted that she didn't want to lose to Shuen. Yining understood that Shuen had come that time to steal Lin Luo away from her. So it was impossible not to be angry with her, but they were still friends. The girl said goodbye and mentioned that her house was just around the corner. The young people wished her good luck. Tang Cheng expressed confidence that Lin Luo would take first place. However, once he received his miracle of light, he would have to treat everyone to celebrate the occasion. Their mentor Li Yu was walking toward the young people. Lin Luo was surprised to see the teacher there. The mentor replied that she needed to discuss something. Li Yu said that every year after the exams, they invite several students with good results to perform in front of the younger students. Lin Luo would have to do this because he was recognized as the best this year. Lin Luo thought there was some kind of catch. Something wasn't right here. The protagonist declared that he wasn't interested. He was going to head home and get some rest. Li Yu insisted and promised to write out a performance plan for him. The mentor offered to treat the young people to a meal. Unexpectedly, the road was blocked. Unidentified people in dark clothes, hiding their faces under hoods, appeared on the road. Li Yu said that things were looking bad because these were the fallen. At that very moment, a water barrier was activated. The mentor grabbed the protagonist by the arm and told him to follow her immediately. Lin Luo refused and demanded that his teacher let him go. Suddenly, Li Yu's behavior changed. She began to act erratically. The woman struck an unnatural pose and laughed in a voice that wasn't her own. The next moment, the mentor transformed into a fallen one. He declared that when he creates a clone of someone, that person's soul and body are destroyed. The villain approached our hero and said he was about to send this guy to meet her. Lin Luo wouldn't be able to escape from here. However, the protagonist became angry and said he would destroy these scoundrels one by one, or even all at once. The villain said the young man didn't have the strength for that, since he was merely a healer, and that wasn't enough. The guardians of the law, who had been summoned to protect him, arrived to aid our hero. The leader of the guardian squad asked, "Did Duchen really dare to come to the city seeking his own doom?" Duchen replied, "Why shouldn't I dare? After all, Du Xiaoman was his niece and also the granddaughter of the Poison Elder. This feud will never end." The Fallen One added that after completing the mission, he intended to use the power of his Lord of the Dark Mist to escape, and no one would stop him. The leader of the Lawkeeper Squad said that the invisible dark beast, Duchen, is wanted as an S-class criminal. It would be nice if he were here in person, but right now there's only a clone here, one who, on top of that, is trying to speak arrogantly. Duchen noticed that he was eliminating the guards one by one. He's used to this. The law enforcer asked the protagonist whether his diarrhea ability was a single target attack or an area of effect attack. The Fallen were strong and the situation looked dire. Lin Luo replied that his attacks were designed for single targets. The Lawkeeper told the young man to follow his movements and help control anyone he attacked. The protagonist agreed. With proper support from a combat class, he would be able to make better use of his skills. The Lawkeepers and the Fallen engaged in hand-to-hand combat. A Fallen lunged at the squad leader and shouted that he was about to destroy him. However, he was unable to carry out his plan. The attacker's stomach suddenly began to ache sharply, and he felt as if something was about to burst out. He realized this was the other guy's ability. The skill's range turned out to be greater than they had expected. At that moment, the Fallen One was destroyed by the leader of the Lawkeeper Squad. The leader said that Lin Luo was doing an excellent job. They continued working as before. Duchen asked, "Do these fools really think they weren't prepared?" The Fallen transformed into a huge monster and declared that their opponents would be destroyed today. Lin Luo realized he was dealing with an elementalist. An elementalist can alter his body so that he has no digestive system. Now the diarrhea tactic was useless. The other Fallen had also been specifically chosen to counter our hero's abilities. Lin Luo decided that under these circumstances, there was nothing else he could do to help. Duchen got down on all fours and called out to our hero. The villain noted that he had made all the necessary preparations to fight this guy. The Fallen One's body began to transform. The transformation ended, the metamorphosis skill activated, and the Fallen turned into a night hound. The beast approached Lin Luo and declared that this guy's strange antics wouldn't work anymore. The Lawkeeper and the Hunter managed to step aside in different directions. The Fallen One's attack missed its target. Tang Cheng thought he couldn't intervene in such a fight. Lin Luo had to be careful. At that moment, our hero was trying to escape from a massive mummy chasing him. It was yet another Fallen One that had transformed. Our hero felt it was getting harder and harder to dodge. Lin Luo activated his unique skill and blocked the attack. The young man realized that even though his ice shield had worked, the energy from the blow still reached his body. The Fallen One said that this guy's tricks were useless against their perfect countermeasures. Lin Luo declared that everything he had shown so far was just the tip of the iceberg. The Fallen One was surprised. Could a small scalpel, resembling a toothpick, really be used as a weapon? The protagonist told his opponent not to worry. First, he wanted to perform a small test operation. A warning about accidental disability appeared. The target accidentally loses their arms, legs, eyes, ears, and other body parts, after which they become incapacitated. The Fallen One didn't understand what was happening. Where were his body parts going? Duchen thought that with a single strike, this guy had managed to sever a body part from the giant wind elemental. How was that possible? What tricks was he using now? Next, Lin Luo activated his Blood Wings gear. Our hero used his wings to approach the giant and said he was now ready to begin the actual procedure. Lin Luo congratulated his opponent on becoming his new patient. The giant complained that his nose was sticking out of his chest. Reports came in of accidental deformation and the random rearrangement of his organs. Duchen asked the giant if he was alive and if everything was all right. The elemental giant replied to the elder that his mouth was now in a different place, making it difficult to converse. The giant added that he couldn't feel anything and couldn't move. He didn't even feel pain but didn't know how to recover. However, since this guy is a spellcaster, his death might restore everything to its original state. Duchen said he would now attack the healer, because as long as that scoundrel's scalpel didn't touch him, he would be safe. The protagonist turned his attention to the leader of the fallen and said it was now this little beast's turn. Duchen summoned the dark beast to emerge. Huge black birds appeared overhead, looking aggressive. Lin Luo hadn't expected his opponent to be a summoner. The law enforcer shouted for Lin Luo to run away immediately. Duchen is an S-rank wanted criminal. He's a higher-level opponent than the rest of the fallen. Even as a clone, he's dangerous and practically invincible. The beast laughed and said he was the progenitor of the invisible dark beast. Lin Luo wouldn't be able to escape him. The protagonist replied that he had no intention of running away. Did Duchen actually enjoy breeding monsters? Lin Luo said that in that case, he would even help the fallen one with this endeavor. Duchen couldn't believe it, but something unexpected happened. The black birds engaged in battle with the unseen dark beasts. The fallen one was furious and didn't understand what was happening. Why were the dark beasts behaving this way? Tang Cheng said that this skill was too cruel, and that he too wanted to learn such an ability. Duchen shouted for them to immediately stop their rampage and destroy that good-for-nothing. However, the beast did not respond to his orders. Worst of all, Duchen also wanted to join them. The lawkeeper declared that a mere elementalist wouldn't be able to stop him. Duchen would be destroyed today. The beast tried to stop the lawkeeper's attack, but the opponent's sword pierced its paw. Lin Luo thought that Duchen wasn't an elementalist, so he could accept his special gift. Duchen declared that if it weren't for this clone's weakness, the lawkeeper wouldn't dare fight him. However, the beast sensed that his condition was deteriorating faster than expected. Duchen realized that the elementalist he had hastily brought in to confront Lin Luo wasn't very strong. If the remaining two were defeated by the guards, he would find himself surrounded. Duchen made the only right decision to flee. He shouted for everyone to step aside immediately. The law enforcer saw the retreat and shouted for Lin Luo to return home immediately. They would handle the rest themselves. Tang Cheng told the law enforcer that his friend had already set off in pursuit of Duchen. The leader of the law enforcer's squad thought this was the first time something like this had happened. The guards had offered him a chance to become a new professional, but he had turned it down. Young people really don't understand the value of a stable job. Lin Luo managed to get his hands on Duchen's cosmic ring, though he didn't know what was inside. Duchen continued to retreat rapidly, trying to preserve his honor and dignity. But suddenly he felt his stomach fill up. His blood seemed to boil, and the lower half of his body began to itch terribly. Lin Luo was surprised. Did this beast really still have the strength to talk? He was truly powerful. However, if the pain were doubled, the effect would be much stronger. Duchen forgot about fleeing and screamed loudly in pain, begging for mercy. The beast mustered its strength and screamed once more that it would destroy this healer by any means necessary. As a result, the beast was destroyed. Lin Luo obtained a black pearl from it. The Keeper of Time said that it was the Pearl of the Dark Beast. The Pearl of the Dark Beast drops only after the death of the progenitor of dark creatures. It contains powerful energy and resembles the crystal of the Great Dragon. It was because of this pearl that Duchen was able to use special abilities, becoming the King of Dark Beasts. However, this pearl is effective only in the hands of professionals. For ordinary people, it's nothing more than a toy. Lin Luo surmised that the artifact might be very valuable. The Guardians of Time thanked the protagonist for his help, as without him they might have perished. Furthermore, Deputy Chief Gu Shouyi wished to meet the young man and offer him the position of Guardian. By becoming a Guardian, Lin Luo would immediately receive the title of a full-fledged professional, official status in the Dragon Kingdom, exemption from university tuition, and free transportation and meals in the cafeteria. After 3 years, he would be provided with a home and a stable salary. Lin Luo wondered, could it be that they wanted to make him a civil servant? The protagonist stated that he was too accustomed to freedom and didn't like restrictions. He asked them to tell the deputy that he appreciated his kindness. Lin Luo said goodbye, turned around, and went about his business. Tang Cheng said he would go with him. Tang Cheng added that he wanted to learn an ability related to dark beasts. The protagonist promised to teach him next time. The leader of the law enforcer squad told the deputy chief that he still couldn't believe it. Duchen had been killed by Lin Luo. The diarrhea ability had frightened everyone there. The law guardian said that he had invited this young man, but the latter had flatly refused. He Shouyi asked what the reason for the refusal was. The law guardian replied that Lin Luo was accustomed to freedom and didn't want any restrictions. However, it seemed that all of this was connected to the Lian family's support. Everyone could see that the Lian family's daughter was quite close to this man. The elder was surprised. Could it be that the Lian family had truly taken an interest in him? This family is allied with the island of the Nine Serpents. How could they have chosen Lin Luo? He Shoyi added that the Lian family's marriage proposal was not merely an attempt to curry favor with the powerful. The head of the Lian family, Zheng, has his own agenda. Given Lin Luo's temperament, sooner or later he will come into conflict with the Lian family. As for the young man's refusal of the invitation, he likely simply harbored a prejudice against the guardians of the law. The guardians of the law are tasked with maintaining order in the country. This seriously affects the interests of the major families. However, these families think only of themselves and do everything possible to evade oversight. They are corrupted not only by bribery, they even control the media and public opinion, spreading negative information about the guardians. This has led many professionals to believe that the guardians merely restrict their freedom. They have no idea that without the guardians of the law, chaos would reign in the system. The powerful families would oppress the weak. There would be no order and no peace. The elder added, "It doesn't matter what means Lin Luo used. The fact that he was able to destroy Duchen shows that he is more talented than anyone else. We must win him over to our side." The guard asked the elder if he should ask the venerable prophet to examine the young man's background. With his power, he can see everything, from skills and items to memories of the past. The old man refused. When they do something, they have their own purpose. Lin Luo is already opposed to them. If they did that, the young man would easily become their enemy. The lawkeeper said that in that case, he should speak with Lin Luo once more. He Shoyi declared that he would do it himself. The old man reminded him that Lian Zheng was one of the few epic-level professionals in the city, the Storm Lord. The invasion by the foreigners is approaching. Families have prospered thanks to the country's blessings. However, the young people do not want to serve. They only fight for power and profit. The elder could not allow Lin Luo to be dragged into this again. During his well-deserved rest, the protagonist reflected on the Fallen and the Night Watch. The Fallen have formed several organizations because they believe in different gods. The Night Watch is one of the strongest forces opposing these Fallen. The protagonist realized that he had destroyed Du Xiaoman and Du Cheng. The battle with the Night Watch would never end. The young man saw no point in looking so far into the future right now. The best course of action was to become as strong as possible. Now he could safely open the cosmic ring and see what was inside. Inside the ring was an anonymous gold card issued by the Adventurers Guild with a balance of 1 million coins. Lin Luo thought to himself that he was now fabulously rich. The protagonist looked around carefully. The bones of a dark beast, the multicolored scales of a python, the horns of a jade dragon, the armor of a terrestrial dragon, all these valuable items were of the highest quality. Lin Luo spotted the Sumeru mask. He thought to himself, if a formation master created it, then it must be very powerful. But to understand how to use it, he would have to put it on. This mask didn't look like a valuable item. Putting it on might cause some kind of mutation. He should hide the mask and look for a valuable book instead. Lin Luo discovered a mesmerizing item. It consumed a certain amount of mental energy to cast a spell on a target and could also control an opponent for a certain period of time. The protagonist decided to study this item first. The learning process was activated. With this item, he could activate the first-level Stockholm Syndrome skill. The success rate was very low. The target becomes obsessed with the creator, automatically increasing their favor toward him. Lin Luo reflected that Stockholm Syndrome had been an incredibly rare mental phenomenon in his past life. It is a situation in which the victim becomes attached to their abuser. It had mutated into a syndrome of self-deception. Our hero expressed hope that this ability might come in handy in tomorrow's game. What could the prize for first place be? After fierce competition this year, the 4 strongest professionals have emerged. The winner will advance to the finals and compete for the championship title. Tang Cheng told his friend that he couldn't find Lian Yining among those present. None of their classmates had seen her either. Lin Luo said he hadn't received any calls or replies to his messages. What's going on? Could her phone be turned off? Tang Cheng speculated that she might have been kidnapped for ransom. The protagonist pointed out that Yining is from the Lian family. Kidnapping her would be tantamount to signing one's own death warrant. The 4 participants were invited to enter the arena. Tang Cheng declared that it was time to go. Lin Luo said that in that case, he would talk to the girl after the match. In arena number 1, the healer Lin Luo faced off against the dragon rider Dongfan Xi. This time, the dragon looked stronger and bigger than before. Its owner must have stuffed it with various items beforehand, since he could afford to do so. Ji Shouyi noted that Dongfan Xi's family had spent a fortune to secure his victory in the championship. Now, all eyes are on Lin Luo. A security guard noticed that last year's top 4 students all came from wealthy families. This year, however, an ordinary guy had emerged. It's only natural to attract so much attention. Lin Luo even had fans. The leader of the law enforcement squad reported to Deputy Chief Gu Shouyi that he had just received news from Lianzheng. They had left Binhai City and were heading out to the open sea. The elder said that was exactly what he had expected. Lianzheng had finally made his move. The elder recounted that many years ago in the Starry Sea, Lianzheng had encountered the Lord of Storm Island, one of the 7 emperors of the deep. He had taken a precious item from the island that allowed him to change his profession. Lianzheng used this item to enter the epic realm. After that, he was given the title Lord of Storms. The guard pointed out that Lianzheng was, first and foremost, a professional in the epic realm of the Dragon Empire. Wouldn't the Empire protect him? Gu Shouyi replied, "No one knows how many dirty deeds he has committed in secret. If he truly trusted the country, would he have fled? His goal is not to get rid of powerful enemies. Currently, the legendary professionals are Lianzheng and the Master of Storm Island. If they want to enter the legendary realm of the Storm King, they must destroy and devour one another. That is why Lianzheng will definitely take his daughter with him on the journey." Shouyi added that his goal is to use his daughter to conquer the 9 Serpents Island and rely on the 7 emperors to deal with them. The squad captain asked, "Are they really just going to let them get away? If Yining were taken, Lin Luo would be furious." The elder replied that there was no need to worry about that. The 9 Serpents Island wasn't so easy to conquer. Gu Shouyi added that the day before he had requested that the youngest master of Serpent Island be selected as a trusted representative. The elder added that the request had been approved that morning. Soon, once he arrived in the Dragon Empire, he wouldn't have a chance to marry Yining. The lawkeeper remarked that the leader had gone to great lengths for Lin Luo's sake. The elder replied that this young man was worth it. Besides, he can't stand it when Lianzheng mocks his daughter. The enormous dragon glared menacingly at Lin Luo. The protagonist remained calm. Lin Luo asked the dragon, hadn't it had enough fun last time, and did it really want to do it all over again in front of a large audience? Dongfan said there was no need to get nervous. They weren't going to start until the judge gave the go-ahead. They just had to be patient for a little while, and after that, the dragon would be able to devour its opponent without leaving a trace. Those present realized that the dragon harbored a grudge against Lin Luo and remembered past grievances. Moreover, it appeared to be a female. Some had a bad feeling about this, since Lin Luo had a reputation for being an eccentric fellow. The battle began, the dragon lunged forward, and the protagonist braced himself to defend. Suddenly, the unbelievable happened. Dongfan Xi turned around and attacked his own dragon. Those present assumed he was under a mind control spell and had mistakenly taken the dragon for an enemy. After the attack, Dongfan said he had been under the influence of his opponent's skill. He didn't want to harm the dragon. After all, they were partners. Dongfan He noticed that the seal on his contract with the dragon was beginning to crack. He couldn't repeat this mistake. If the seal shattered completely, the dragon would abandon him. He'll have to play his trump card early. Dongfan added, even if his opponent is level 30 and has changed professions, it means nothing. He'll show him what a difference family background makes. The spectators agreed that Dongfan He's gear was the best of the best. Its stats and durability were exceptionally high. Did he really spend so much money just to deal with Lin Luo? The protagonist challenged his opponent to see which was more powerful, his level or Dongfan Xi's items. Dongfan approached Lin Luo and told him that his efforts were futile. He had taken a huge number of antiviral pills in advance and received several vaccinations against diseases. The healer's cheap tricks wouldn't work on him anymore. Lin Luo dodged his opponent's attack by activating an advanced maneuver. Dongfan grew angry. How could an ordinary healer be more agile than him? The spectators were amazed. Could the healer really be that fast? How did he achieve such speed? The head of the rival family speculated that the healer had overexerted himself and used a special skill that provided a brief burst of energy. Everyone noticed that Dongfan Xi suddenly froze in place. He couldn't move. Lin Luo admitted that, due to the vaccine and magic-resistant items, his skills were indeed ineffective against his opponent. However, there is no vaccine for the sexual desire skill. Now Dongfan can enjoy himself. The young man looked at his dragon and imagined it as a woman. He said she was enormous and magnificent. Everyone watched as Dongfan rushed toward the dragon and told this beauty to play with him. The spectators were astonished. What was going on here? Could it be that Lin Luo really did that to his dragon? Those present called the warrior pathetic and foolish. He was so aroused that he didn't even spare his own dragon. After all, they had been battle partners for so long. Wasn't Dongfan the dragon rider? Now that phrase had taken on a whole new meaning. The dragon let out a loud roar and threw its master to the ground. Dongfan didn't understand what all the fuss was about. After all, he'd had nothing but good intentions. He approached the dragon again and promised not to harm it. The dragon, in the form of a young woman, said she didn't want that. However, the warrior refused to listen. Dongfan declared that the beauty shouldn't hold back. He wasn't going to give up so easily. The dragon seized the warrior and roared loudly. Everyone could see that, thanks to the dragon's loyalty, it was deliberately holding back its power so as not to destroy Dongfan Xi. If it had been anyone else, the warrior would already have been destroyed. However, dragons are proud and majestic creatures. The head of the Morang family, Mr. Chung Fu, asked in surprise why Xuehen was there now. The girl replied that Chen Pinggan might be strong, but he was certainly no match for her. Her duel was already over, and she was free until Lin Luo won the battle. The niece suggested that Lin Luo's battle was so captivating that her uncle couldn't take his eyes off it. Chung Fu confirmed this. A desire for one's own protege happens once in a century. Xuen thought that even if Dongfan was weaker, he couldn't be that bad. He must be under the influence of some kind of illusion. The fact that he had fallen under such a powerful illusion showed that he was a playboy who secretly craved beauty. The head of the family said he had wanted to marry his niece off to Dongfan Xi, but hadn't expected things to turn out this way. He would immediately send someone to reject the Dongfan family's marriage proposal. The girl was delighted. Xuehen said that the Dongfan family had lost all face today. The young master of the Dongfan family's behavior was beyond the pale. For the future heir to want to mount a dragon right in public was humiliating. The head of the Dongfan family was furious. His aides reported that Xi was definitely under an illusion spell. They suggested conceding defeat immediately. Otherwise, the family would lose face, since the entire country was watching the tournament broadcast. The head of the family said that the Dongfan family had already lost face. Admitting defeat would only make matters worse. They could only rid themselves of the disgrace by winning. Consigliere asked why the head of the family wouldn't let her cast the spell. The man replied that if she cast a spell on Lin Luo, he would notice it. If he reports it to the deputy guard, they'll be in huge trouble. Besides, they need hair and personal belongings to cast the curse. The woman said she didn't need Lin Luo. She wanted to dispel the illusion affecting Mr. Xi. The head of the family agreed it was a good idea. Consigliere could proceed. The man noted that Lin Luo was quite foolish. He was fighting the dragon instead of attacking the defenseless Xi. As long as the illusion on the dragon hasn't been dispelled, the young master still has a chance. Lin Luo activated the skin explosion skill over and over again, trying to defeat the enormous dragon. The dragon fought back from both sides and Lin Luo was forced to retreat temporarily. Our hero noted that the dragon was extremely powerful, high health, high resistance, and a powerful attack. Although it was just a young dragon, it could be used to his advantage. Lin Luo thought that, despite his numerous attacks, Stockholm Syndrome still hadn't taken effect. The odds were too slim. He needed to continue the fight, and then, if that didn't work, switch to tougher tactics. Dongfan Xi began to get nervous. He said that this girl was toying with him, and his patience too had its limits. The warrior swung his weapon and declared that he had no intention of giving up on his desire. He would definitely get what he wanted today, and no one would stop him. Those present noted with regret that in a fit of unbridled passion, Dongfan Xi had thrust his spear into the dragon's rear. The dragon raised its head and let out a desperate scream. Consigliere began casting her spells. Dongfan Xi began to come to his senses. The feeling of passion gradually left him. The young man looked at the world through different eyes. He looked around and asked where that stunning beauty had gone. He thought with horror, could his dragon actually be that very beauty? But that seemed absolutely impossible and unbelievable. The warrior burst into tears and told the dragon he was ready to explain everything. It had all been a misunderstanding. The young man knelt, reaching out his hand toward the dragon. He pleaded for reconciliation and mutual understanding. The dragon turned, flapped its wings, and began to gain altitude. It was flying away forever. Dongfan Xi shouted for the dragon to return immediately. It was not just a request, but an order. The Dongfan family head's aides said the situation was dire. The contract seal had been broken, and the dragon had flown away. The young people said that dragons live for an extremely long time, long enough to protect the family for 1,000 years. This is the key to the clan's success, and even the ancestors held it in high regard. The head of the family declared that the battle was over. Xi had lost. Now the dragon must be brought back. An aide reported to the elder that the members of the Dongfan family had suddenly left. They had decided to renounce the miracle of light. Jishoyi surmised that the head of the Dongfan clan wanted to retrieve the dragon, but now anyone could try to claim it for themselves. The chairman of the Law Guardians issued an order to all guards. They must locate the dragon's whereabouts. The woman said she had come here to sort everything out, but she hadn't expected such an opportunity to arise. She added that if she obtained the dragon crystal, she would definitely be able to reach a higher level. They needed to find the dragon as soon as possible. Dongfan Xi remained in the arena, face-to-face with his opponent. He was trying to steady his breathing. The warrior shouted that he would destroy Lin Luo with his own hands. The protagonist noted that he hadn't borrowed any money from his opponent. Why was the man shouting so loudly? Dongfan rushed at the hero with an unquenchable desire to destroy him. Those present were surprised. Could it be that young Master Dongfan had such a hobby? He had repeatedly desecrated the dragon. Not every pet could withstand that. Dongfan Xi heard all the talk about himself from those present. In a rage, the warrior activated the Golden Thunder skill. An ice block appeared between the rivals. Dongfan thought it was impossible. His most powerful strike had been blocked by the healer. Lin Luo said he'd like to play around with his opponent some more, but he was in a hurry right now. The protagonist suggested ending the duel quickly. The spectators saw a scalpel in the healer's hands. Could this really be his real weapon? Dongfan laughed, thinking his opponent was about to pull off something incredible. How could a scalpel be used as a weapon? It seemed ridiculous to him. Lin Luo said that Dongfan could laugh now, but soon he wouldn't be laughing anymore. Dongfan declared that nothing had happened. Was Lin Luo really bluffing? However, he suddenly noticed that structural changes had occurred in his body. He had developed female breasts. Lin Luo remarked that this was the first time he'd seen such an effect and congratulated his opponent. The protagonist added that new horizons were opening up for Dongfan Xi. Reports came in about an accidental gender change. Viewers noticed that one of the participants had turned into a girl. Could he really have that ability? The girl screamed for that scoundrel to turn her back immediately. But that wasn't the end of it. She felt a sharp pain below her waist. What could this mean? Lin Luo explained that the physical structure of men and women differs greatly. Apparently, Dongfan wasn't used to this yet. It would be better to accept defeat and come to terms with the possibility of menstruation. The audience noticed that Dongfan Xi had lost consciousness. Lin Luo had won this match. The next final battle was supposed to take place between Lin Luo and Morang Shuen. Tang Cheng asked why his friend looked so detached, since he had already won. Lin Luo replied that Kiyoshi had sent a message asking to meet. She was worried, perhaps she had information about her niece's whereabouts. A message came in that Morang had surrendered and Lin Luo had won the final battle. The protagonist said he was leaving everything to Tang Cheng. It was time for him to leave, but they would see each other again soon. The assistant said they had been preparing for a long time to get their hands on the miracle of light. Could Shuen really be planning to surrender? Shuen said she had a 50% chance of success. However, they would only inflict minor injuries on each other. As soon as Lin Luo uses his abilities, the consequences will be dire. The head of the Morang family noted that even if they win, the family's reputation would be in tatters. He thought that Shuen was currently at a high level in every respect. Her reputation was more valuable than a damaged miracle of light. The young woman realized that this was only one of the reasons. She valued Lin Luo's potential. It was better to be friends with this guy than to make him an enemy. The family had expressed hope that Lin Luo would indeed prove himself worthy. The tournament host announced the start of the official awards ceremony. The winner, Lin Luo, was invited onto the stage. However, the young man was nowhere to be found. Those present began to worry. Where had Lin Luo gone? Tang Cheng took the stage and said that his friend had an urgent matter to attend to, so he would represent him. Ji Shouyi said that this student was quite a handful. However, perhaps he was simply worried about Li and Yining. The protagonist arrived at his meeting with Kiyoshi. The woman explained that her brother had an urgent matter to attend to, so he had taken Yining with him to the island of the 9 snakes. They might return in 2 months or a little later. Lin Luo read the letter the girl had left for him. He thought that her father was treating Yining like a 3-year-old. How urgent could it be if she didn't even have time to send a message? The girl wrote that she couldn't avoid this trip, but that she would return in 2 months and they would meet then. Lin Luo should take care of himself. The protagonist asked Kiyoshi to tell the truth. Was Yining in trouble? The woman replied that she had nothing more to add and needed to leave. Kiyoshi thought that Lin Luo was still too fragile, so it was better for him not to know certain things. Lin Luo said that in that case they had nothing more to discuss. He turned away and wished her well. Kyoshi was forced to admit that she had lied. She added that Yining's love for him was completely pure and expressed her hope that Lin Luo would take care of her. Our hero knew that an extremely powerful force resided on the island of the Nine Snakes. Although this island is located in the waters of the Dragon Kingdom, it does not fully belong to it. But how could it be connected to the Lin family, who live on the mainland? The hero sensed movement in the vault. A mask was pulled out of the ring, even though he hadn't even touched it. The mask conveyed a message. The Night Watch had requested that people living near the city of Binhai be sent to Pale Canyon. A dragon had been found, but they had been attacked by guards. Help was needed. Lin Luo realized that the mask was a means of communication. The protagonist put on the mask. It was a special Sumeru mask, symbolizing membership in the Night Watch. The mask's wearer gains access to special permissions. Lin Luo realized that the mask could teleport its wearer. Such an opportunity could not be missed. The head of the Dongfan family and his subordinates stood by the bed where a woman lay. She kept repeating, "The dragon, my dragon." The head of the family inquired about her condition. An aide reported that her physical wounds had healed, but the problem lay in psychological trauma. This was a mental condition that was difficult to cure. The aide added that healing did not mean a full recovery. Judging by her physiological characteristics, she had completely transformed into a woman. The head of the Dongfan family said they needed to find a way to restore her body to its original state. The Dongfans had counted on Xi to carry on the family line, so they needed to find a young man from an aristocratic family to marry her. Despite her situation, there would always be someone for whom this would be suitable. The girl jumped out of bed and declared that she was a professional S-class dragon rider and would never get married. The head of the family said that without a dragon, she was nothing. The whole family had raised that dragon. He didn't intend to punish Xi harshly for its loss, but he wouldn't go easy on her either. The head ordered the girl to be watched, counting on a future strategic marriage alliance. Dongfan Xi shouted that she wasn't a man, so she wouldn't get married. An aide reported that the dragon's location had been discovered, Pale Canyon. The guards and the Night Watch were already fighting there. The head of the Dongfan family was outraged. The dragon had only just lost its master, and they were already fighting over it. It must be brought back at any cost. Dongfan Xi thought that this was the cruelty of powerful families. Even if she became a woman, they would still squeeze every last drop out of her. She realized she couldn't just wait. If the dragon recognized her as its master again, there was a chance to turn everything back. Lin Luo, wearing a mask, appeared at the agreed-upon location. Using teleportation, the protagonist moved toward the Night Watch representative. The man greeted the level B mask master, assuming that such a level must belong to at least an elder of the Golden Realm or higher. Lin Luo asked how things were going. The man reported that the fire dragon's order had been carried out. The young dragon had been captured, but they had been attacked by guards. A battle was underway, and reinforcements were needed. The masked man said he would go assess the situation on the ground. The dragon was chained and protected by a shielding dome. The guards and the Night Watch were fighting fiercely for the right to possess it. From his hiding place, the masked man could see that the battle was in full swing. The dragon was indeed without a master, and its value had drawn all forces to the scene. One of the combatants looked familiar to the hero. A representative of the Night Watch declared that they had found the dragon first and that Zhao Qicheng must retreat. The guard replied that this was not an argument. Whoever held the dragon would be the victor. A woman from the Night Watch said that 5 years ago they were equals, but now Zhao Qicheng was nothing but a weakling, held back only by his status as a guard. She offered him the chance to join the Night Watch and abandon his duty to protect the weak and uphold order, promising him success. The guard refused, saying he didn't want to become as selfish as Chai Fen. Zhao Qicheng remarked that power without a purpose is meaningless. The fire dragon screamed that in that case he might perish along with his purpose. Suddenly an arrow pierced the ground between them. The head of the Dongfan family arrived at the scene of the battle and ordered the fallen to leave, declaring that the dragon belonged to the Dongfan family. Chai Fen lashed out at him, saying that was ridiculous. The dragon had no master, and it would go to whoever claimed it first. Zhao Qicheng shouted that he too was laying claim to the dragon. Chai Fen declared that she didn't care how many enemies there were, she would destroy them all. Lin Luo thought it best to wait and not make any sudden moves. However, there was someone who decided to take advantage of the situation. This person looked familiar. A girl until recently known as Dongfan Xi approached the dragon. She figured that while everyone was fighting, no one was paying attention to the dragon. This was her chance. Dongfan Xi addressed the dragon, offering to sign a new contract and return home. Rage flashed in the dragon's eyes, and he roared loudly. Lin Luo thought the dragon was in too much shock. He assumed he was being mocked again. He had drawn attention to himself, and Dongfan Xi might be in trouble. The head of the Dongfan family was surprised to see Xi there and ordered her to leave immediately. Chai Fen shouted that none of them dared to touch the dragon. Dongfan Xi was instantly engulfed in flames emanating from the fire dragon. The dragon let out a loud roar. Chai Fen said she had remembered. Xi is the young dragon's true master. Even if the contract has been terminated, they still have a bond with each other. Now that his former master has been destroyed right before his eyes, he is falling into despair. He must be restrained. The assistant replied that they needed to keep the situation under control. Otherwise, they might lose to the guards. Chai Fen declared that they shouldn't worry. She could take care of herself. They needed to keep an eye on the dragon. He was the most important thing right now. The law enforcers decided to attack all at once and destroy the fire dragon. That way, they wouldn't have to fear the members of the Night Watch. The members of the Night Watch tightened the chains restraining the dragon and warned the beast not to even think about escaping. The dragon continued to roar. Chai Fen said that the battle was growing increasingly fierce. The dragon tried to break free and pushed off the ground. However, the chains continued to hold it back. A masked man approached the Night Watch. The Fallen One said that this dragon was very strong, and it was difficult for them to subdue it. A Class B mask could be just the help they needed. Lin Luo replied that he would help, since that was exactly why he had come here. Suddenly, the Fallen began to feel unwell, and one by one started to fall out of action. The battle reached its climax. However, the ranks of the Fallen were taking damage, and their numbers were dwindling. The dragon broke free and flew away. Lin Luo hoped it wouldn't fall into the hands of the enemy. Suddenly, a fiery specter appeared behind the masked man. It was the fire dragon. Lin Luo thought that things were not going well. The head of the Dongfan family continued his attack on the Fallen One. Chai Fen was forced to defend herself. The family head demanded that Xi be returned to him immediately. The shots from the magic bow continued. Chai Fen shouted that she would deal with the archer after she destroyed the masked man. Zhao Qicheng thought this was very strange. Why had the Night Watch suddenly started fighting each other? However, the masked man's movements seemed familiar to him. The leader of the law enforcement squad surmised that Lin Luo had somehow obtained the mask of the slain Duchen. This guy was more important than the dragon. Zhao Qicheng ordered all the guards to rescue the masked night watchman. Chai Fen transformed and said not to interfere with her business. Fire Dragon said that in that case, she would first destroy these people and then deal with the masked night watchman. Chai Fen activated her unique skill and said that this man would now be destroyed. Unexpectedly, the situation changed. Chai Fen said she would be back and ran away. Those present were puzzled by what was happening. The head of the Dongfan family wondered why the progenitor had appeared here. The elder said that Xi's death had been passed down to him through his bloodline. The masked man was the scoundrel who had killed Xi. The family head said that, in that case, they must not let this scoundrel escape retribution. Zhao Qicheng realized that standing before him was Dongfan, a professional of the epic realm. Dongfan Wuyue, the ancestor, declared that he would bring back this man's head. They mustn't forget to retrieve his body as well, because it would come in very handy. The head of the Dongfan family said that there was still one member of the Night Watch left here. They needed to deal with him. Zhao Qicheng said that there was an undercover agent right next to him. The guards had organized this operation. Zhong Dongfan said that it's not easy to get a Class B mask among the Night Watch. Could their agent really have managed it? Zhao Qicheng replied that the guards don't have to report to him. They must follow the chain of command. The guard added that the place was full of night watchmen. They were keeping an eye on Lin Luo. The guy was risking getting into trouble. What would happen if the Sumeru mask transported him to a dangerous place? Zhao Qicheng added that it could have been a trap. The guy needed to be punished for such actions. Lin Luo thought that, after all, he hadn't been caught. Lin Luo and Zhao Qicheng saw a dragon flying toward them and asked in surprise why it was there. The protagonist speculated that the dragon had come to see him. Zhong Dongfan thought this was very strange. How had she managed to escape his ability? The young man had been trapped inside a huge crystal. The chief recalled that he had given his son a resurrection item several years ago. He should have kept that item with him. There were no signs of resurrection. Could he really be dead? The phone rang. The head was informed that they had bad news. They hadn't been able to find the young master at the resurrection point. His whereabouts were unknown. Zhong Dongfan thought that Xi had decided to destroy himself in order to be reborn and escape his ability. How could he have gone to such lengths for the sake of a dragon? Zhao Qicheng said they needed to be cautious. A dragon without an owner is very dangerous. Besides, it still harbors old grudges. Lin Luo and the dragon stared intently into each other's eyes. There was no malice in those gazes. The protagonist speculated that this dragon had no malicious intentions. Our hero reached out his hand and clearly sensed a connection forming between them. Lin Luo surmised that Stockholm Syndrome had been activated. However, it would take some time for it to take effect. Stockholm Syndrome doesn't have the same effect as a regular control skill. The guard was surprised since dragons are a majestic race, yet now this dragon was trying to curry favor with a human. How is that possible? The protagonist suggested that this dragon was obsessed with him. Zhao Qicheng said that was absurd. However, they needed to find a way to sign a contract with the dragon right away. Lin Luo stated that he had a contract with the River Styx. He had obtained it after defeating a boss. That should be enough. Qicheng thought that among all contract items, the contract with the River Styx was one of the very best. What kind of boss could drop something so good? Lin Luo placed his hand on the dragon's head, and the contract was sealed. The bond was established. The protagonist declared that from that moment on, the dragon was his property. The guard thought that their kingdom had lost a dragon rider but gained a dragon reaper. Lin Luo checked the information and realized it was just a young, level 22 dragon. However, its attribute panel surpassed that of a level 50 silver class boss. A few more years of development will make the dragon much stronger. The guard noted that dragons are powerful and rare, and there are no more than 10 professionals in the world who can contract with them. To deal with Lin Luo, the Dongfan family had stuffed him full of elixirs, so this was to be expected. That's precisely why his attributes are so high. The protagonist said that from now on, he would call this dragon Crimson. The young man added that if the dragon didn't mind, it could be assumed that he agreed to everything. Zhao Qicheng decided to call and report everything to Deputy Chief Gu Shouyi. The guard was surprised, but the dragon was indeed carrying the young man on its back. But they had just signed a contract. Gu Shouyi really couldn't believe it. Could it be that the person on the other end wasn't making this up and had actually seen it with his own eyes? Wasn't this an illusion? If this had actually happened and Dongfan Xi had begun to act, then Lin Luo should already be dead. What should they do, after all? Lin Luo isn't a dragon rider. He doesn't have a special place for a dragon. Jishoyi said they needed to take the dragon to the base in the Black Steel Mountains. It's remote and spacious enough, the dragon could stay there temporarily. After that, Lin Luo would need to be escorted to the city. The founder of the Dongfan family said he hadn't expected this. That young man, Lon Yan, had a trump card that his old rival had set aside for him. That's why he was able to escape. Now Xi has been destroyed, yet they still haven't avenged this. The Dongfan family has never suffered such humiliation. Zhong Dongfan told the patriarch to calm down. He would do everything in his power to preserve the family lineage. The patriarch asked why he should worry about continuing the lineage. Even if Zhong didn't work hard, he could still do it on his own. Would Zhong be able to produce another dragon rider? The ancestor noted that even though the contract had been terminated, it was still a young dragon. If they managed to capture it, there was a high probability they could tame it again. This time, he would ask someone to use Xi's body to activate the secret search technique, and they would definitely have the upper hand. The fire dragon hurled insults at the Dongfan family and their dragon. Dark Mist appeared before Chai Fen and said that if he hadn't stopped Dongfan Yue, the fire dragon would already be dead. Chai Fen thanked the elder Dark Mist. Dark Mist said he wanted retribution. Now, in this world, there aren't many people who can defy him. Chai Fen asked if he was still worthy of Dark Mist's attention. Dark Mist said he was ready to grant Chai Fen the hand of a dragonborn. It would grow and he would become even stronger than before. However, he needed Chai Fen to become his representative among the Night Watch. He must go beyond the territory's borders and help with a certain task. Dark Mist added that he would know when Chai Fen arrived at the place he sent him to. From this day forward, Chai Fen would be a follower of Lord Dark Mist. Lin Luo happily said that he had finally returned. On the way, our hero happened to run into Tong Cheng and claimed the prize that was rightfully his. The protagonist decided that he would finally be able to meet the miracle of light. Inside the box was something that looked like jelly or some kind of slime. It was a conceptual being, and it was severely damaged. This being was born from the fusion of two or more worlds and the clash of their rules. It contains a world within itself and can grow freely. Lin Luo was surprised. Could this really be the treasure that all the noble families had fought over? The legendary wonder of the world? Could this slime actually be alive? The protagonist decided he needed to be cautious. He couldn't let this creature devour him. There was a knock at the door. The young man opened it and saw the deputy chief of the city guard standing on the threshold. Gu Shouyi saw the wonder of the world and said that if the heads of the aristocratic families found out the boy was playing around like this, they would be furious. The creature began to show signs of discontent, and the old man remarked that it seemed he had made a mistake. Gu Shouyi said he would give the creature a small gift as an apology. The wonder of the world immediately swallowed the object. Lin Luo said that this little one had only recently appeared and was not yet familiar with etiquette. The old man replied that everything was fine. He had come here to invite Lin Luo to join them. Our hero reiterated that he really didn't want to become a guard. The old man said the young man was mistaken. He knew that Lin Luo valued freedom and didn't like restrictions. That's why he came in person, hoping the young man would become an honored guest rather than a full-fledged member. There are many professionals in the world who also don't want to be bound by their country's rules. To handle such special talents, the guards created a special position, honored guest. They're called guards, but in reality, they're freelance employees who aren't required to work. At the same time, they receive a salary and benefits. The old man noted that, with the exception of rare special missions, the young man would be completely free. Completing special missions can earn excellent rewards. Lin Luo said that sounded tempting. However, he still didn't understand why they had chosen him specifically. Jishoyi replied that it was very simple. He saw potential in the young man and was willing to bet on his future. If Lin Luo agreed, he would not only remain free, but could also use his status to lead other guards. The old man added that this was the best he could offer. Would Lin Luo accept this proposal? The young man gave a positive answer. The old man was pleased and handed the protagonist a token and a badge. From that moment on, the young man officially became an honored guest of the guards. The holder of this token can command all guards below the 30th rank of the Golden Realm. The hibernation badge allows pets to be kept inside the space. For those who don't have room for a pet, this is a great opportunity to keep them there. Lin Luo thought this was exactly what he needed. The young man asked the elder what this wonder of the world was. He couldn't figure out what this creature was capable of. Gu Shouyi said it would take the young man a long time before he could use the wonder of the world. Its function is to allow epic-tier professionals to enter the legendary realm. It is an essential item that legendary professionals need to enter the mythical realm. Lin Luo realized that everything was clear to him now, and he understood why the great families had fought over this creature. Gu Shouyi explained that he and epic masters from various families had joined forces to wrest this item from the deep-sea invaders. Although it was damaged in battle and had lost its power, there was still a chance to restore it. The elder added that initially, the leading families were full of confidence and believed they would definitely obtain it. They did not expect that, in the end, it would be Lin Luo who would receive the Miracle of Light. The protagonist noted that the Miracle of Light was still broken and could only be repaired using a space-time rift. But what is a space-time rift? The elder explained that it is a collective term referring to the materialization of a fragment of the rules. The heart of the territory is one of the things that can be absorbed by the Miracle of Light. It can often be found where large numbers of monsters converge, and it is guarded by a boss. Ordinary monsters cannot possess it. Only monsters with a certain level of wisdom, and even culture can. Gao Shouyi asked if Lin Luo was planning to search for all these places. They are all extremely dangerous, and alien monsters are far more dangerous than ordinary monsters in the wilderness. The elder asked if Lin Luo had decided which university he would apply to after finishing his studies. The young man replied that he hadn't thought about it yet. Jishoyi advised him to apply to the Imperial University. There were many interesting people there. It was the best university in the Dragon Kingdom. The young master of the Nine Serpents Island would also be studying there. Lin Luo was surprised. Could it really be the Nine Serpents Island again? His girlfriend Lian Yining had been taken there, and he didn't know why. The elder said that there were guards on the Nine Serpents Island as well, and the girl would be safe there. Zhao Qicheng asked the elder if Lin Luo had agreed. The deputy mayor replied that the young man had agreed, and there was something strange about him. The old man wondered what kind of little creature was standing next to Lin Luo. Is it an elemental elf? If so, why can it eat elemental crystals? Jishoyi concluded that this young man had a great many secrets. Television and the internet began advertising the same products as those offered by this year's top healer, Lin Luo. The protagonist realized he had become a celebrity. Should he ask for money for image rights? Many girls recognized our hero in the crowd and were overjoyed to see him in person. Strangers surrounded the guy and began asking him for autographs. They also wanted to learn abilities and various skills alongside him. The girls confessed their feelings to the protagonist and asked him to help them with their life situations. Lin Luo triggered an adrenaline rush and said he needed to leave immediately. Our hero felt exhausted. Now he understood what happens when a person becomes famous. A multitude of wild rumors were swirling around him, and there was nothing he could do about it. Lin Luo had a secret second job. Although the Crimson Fury staff was decent, it was a weapon for beginners. It's hard to find good items on online marketplaces, which is why he wanted to go shopping, but he ended up getting caught up in this mess. Young people also recognized the protagonist on the street. The guys also started pestering our hero, asking him to help them solve their complicated life situations. Suddenly, a girl appeared in the distance and said it was very noisy here. She added that even the most devoted fans should know where to draw the line. Couldn't they see that this guy was uncomfortable? The girl came closer and said that this young man had a date with her. Anyone who dared to interrupt her should think carefully about the consequences. Lin Luo thanked Morang Shuen for her help. The girl replied that it wasn't difficult for her to do. Shuen asked why the guy was shopping alone. Lin Luo replied that he needed to upgrade his weapons, but it's hard to buy anything good online. Shuen said that in that case, she could recommend a great place. The young people entered what Shuihin considered the best store for professionals in the city. It had a huge selection of high-quality items. The store was owned by the Morang family. The store was indeed impressive. However, the items suitable for the second transformation were mostly of low quality. This was especially true for weapons. There were absolutely no gold-tier ones here. The girl noted that those who start out with gold-tier items are usually children from wealthy families. Such people don't visit stores, they simply take whatever they need from their families. Shuen suggested that the young man join her family. That way, he could choose any gold-tier items he wanted. Lin Luo replied that he didn't want to be tied down and was used to being on his own. The girl expressed her regret and added that she still thought highly of him. But in the future, he should count on the Lin family's support. However, things wouldn't go so smoothly. Shuin added that she and Yining were good friends. Yining had been forcibly taken to Nine Serpents Island to be married off to the island's young master. Lin Luo was extremely surprised and upset upon hearing this news. Could it really have been forced? Shuen noted that she had gone to great lengths to find this out. Yining didn't want to upset Lin Luo, so she hadn't told anyone. The reason for the marriage was simple. Yining's father wanted to use the Island of the Nine Snakes to climb the social ladder. The island's lord stood to gain just as much. Both sides agreed. Yining became a bargaining chip. The girl added that sending Juche to study at the Imperial Palace was the reason the wedding had been postponed. Lin Luo thought that Deputy City Chief Gu Shouyi had done more for him than anyone else. He would have to repay him for that. Shuen added that she had voluntarily surrendered in the final and lost the wonder of the world. Now she was sharing this secret information. Was that enough to become friends? The young people shook hands. Lin Luo said that the price was even a little high. For the protagonist, there was nothing wrong with being on good terms with this girl. Shuen pointed out that since they were friends, they should help each other. She asked Uncle Lu to retrieve that very item. The old man performed some magical gestures and the item appeared in his hand. It was a 40th level magic staff. Lin Luo gasped and realized it was an epic weapon. Morang Shuen had truly gone to great. Lin Luo. The girl explained that she had taken this staff from the family treasury. It was forbidden to sell it to outsiders. Her friends were an exception. Lin Luo thanked the girl and said he had enough money to buy the weapon. However, he would make up the difference with other items and materials. The girl noted that from now on, Lin Luo could call her by her first name. As a result, the protagonist sold unused materials and items from his spatial ring and bought the staff at a friend's price. With the remaining money, he bought many items, consumables, and special items at the store, which significantly enriched his inventory. After saying goodbye to Muran, our hero set off for Blacksteel Mountain. The young man mounted the dragon and said that they were finally leaving this city to restore the wonder of the world as soon as possible. The most suitable place for this would be the territory outside the kingdom.